Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, one and all, anybody who happens to be watching at the moment. This is the Coffee Baron, and I am back to give you another quiet, easy night of me gently laying some paint on some miniatures. Let me just actually get that into the frame first and foremost. How's everybody doing tonight? Well, if you're still here, Night Clerk, that's exactly the that's exactly the point. You don't have to have a nightcap, but it's always nice to have one of some sort around this time of night. I realize that for most people, it's probably later in the evening. For me, it's only about 8:30 or so right now. 8:40, 8:40, yeah. I myself just finished whipping up a. Ooh, come on, get off there. Pseudo espresso martini. A little bit of gin, a little bit of coffee that I made earlier on with oat milk, and then some coffee syrup that I made a couple of nights ago. Just stuck in the bottom. Maybe it'll just make things sweeter as I get down towards the bottom. Oh, that is excellent. Rapidly approaching midnight. Well, you are in the right place, my friend. I don't know if you are a day walker or if you're usually on night shift, but either way, hopefully you'll find yourself falling asleep by the end of the stream. And I don't take falling asleep on me as particularly as a an insult. I find that to be a compliment. If I'm chill enough to put you to bed, then I suppose I've done my job. Okay, so tonight I think I'm going to start off going back to the first things that I did. I'm going to start with another Mordheim miniature. Not an actual miniature from Mordheim, but a miniature for Mordheim. And then at some point I may transition into doing some Titanicus models, but I'm not entirely sure. Please let me know how my sound is at the moment. The only change I've made this time around was I added a noise suppressor so that nobody else can hopefully hear the small fan I've got going in the background to blow some of the AC air into this room. But I don't know if that might have quieted me down a little bit, and if so, I may need to increase my gain to make up for that. Nightwalker for 17 years. Well, I suppose that means that I suppose that's the origin of your name. Had a health issue, now I'm a daywalker. Interesting. I've never actually done full night shifts myself, but I have had a handful of times where I've had to, when I've been involved in some construction for our shops, I've had to work full shifts in the day and then go home, nap for about 3 or 4 hours, and then go start construction on something at 9 p.m. because we couldn't do the construction during operating hours. So we had 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. every evening to complete our construction. So that was an interesting time and a difficult time. I do not recommend that to anybody. Quite literally, burning the candle at both ends. So first and foremost, on the side of OBS, let me bump up the exposure a little bit so that, well, actually, let me see how this looks if I just move this. So I've got some arm space. This will be where I'm holding. Oh yeah, that needs to go way up. Okay, gonna hit that, tick, tick, and then swing this on in. How does that look now? That's a little blown out, I think. So let me go back down by one. Tick. That will probably be okay. If it's too dark, to see the mini, just let me know. And now let me hit the focus. Okay, looks like that'll probably be about all right. Just what I did was in fiber optic installation. Yeah, ours was just when we were setting up a shop at a mall. We weren't allowed to do any of the We weren't allowed to do any of the construction during mall operating hours, and my God, what a pain that was, because we also couldn't allow dust to go anywhere, and we had to do the flooring and everything. So the inside of the box that we set up looked like Dexter's Kill Room with plastic all over the place, and it was greenhouse effect, so it got really hot in there. It was not a fun time, but malls can be fun at night. Yeah, our local mall has a one of those little video roller coaster rides that the kids get on, and the attract demo that plays just on a loop so that it brings people over to see what's going on. It always has this part at the climax of it where it where a bunch of the kids that are on the roller coaster and the little video scream as they go down the thing. So it's creepy as all hell when you're walking around. The janitors mention the same thing, that they will just be wandering around cleaning the things, and all of a sudden they just hear the distant sound of children screaming off around the corner. Oh my gosh. Countess of Creation, you have arrived. Well, I suppose that must be a big deal. You sound like you must be. Well, at least you've announced your presence and I know you're here. Thank you for that. Whoever you happen to be, greetings and salutations. I shall retrieve mine coffee post haste. Do as you please. Take your time. I'm not going anywhere for quite some time, and coffee isn't something that needs to be rushed. Let's install that fiber and at the ceiling. Oh god, yeah, that would be awful. I wonder if you can unplug them. I don't think they're allowed to. I don't think that the janitors are allowed to fuck with the arcade games. Don't sound so excited. Well, oh, right. Hey, how you? That's right. I don't know if I can say your name on here. I think I know who you are, but I don't want to dox you. So please don't say mine if you remember it. Let me put this over here so I can dry off the Big Bear War Machines thing. I spilled a little bit earlier on. Where did I put that napkin? Right here. There we go. There you go. See, unlike you, Cantus, I actually do paint and get things finished on occasion. It takes a while, but there we go. Yes, that is indeed a cocktail. So I was talking about a little bit earlier on. It's an espresso martini. Sort of. It's gin, a little bit of the coffee that I made earlier with espresso and a small bit of oat milk, and then at the very bottom, which actually I think I need to stir, at the very bottom is a coffee syrup that I made myself a little while ago. Just I took a little Bialetti mocha pot and made like about a half cup of coffee, and put it in a stovetop pan on the stovetop, with about a half cup of water and a half cup of sugar, and then threw in some spices, cinnamon, nutmeg, a little bit of cloves, a little bit of cardamom, so on and so forth, and then simmered that down until it became a syrup. But I keep it in the fridge because it will go bad, because I don't have any citric acid or potassium sorbate in it like most commercial syrups do. And so it gets extremely thick in the fridge. There we go. Now it's a little bit, now it's a little mixed together. How about I shut the fuck up? Well, I'm on stream and I don't have any background music at the moment, so I unfortunately cannot shut the fuck up. You can try that though. Hey, Cookie Mama. It's always nice to have you around. Oh, yeah, that's better. Ooh, that spice. Not quite a smack to the face, but pretty dang close. Malls at night are really creepy as hell, even with like 6 people working there. Oh, yeah, they are. That depends on the mall also. Ours is kind of nice because it's literally just like a cross shape. So, if you're standing in the center court, you can literally see like every section of the mall except for the very, very little side wings all at the very end. Oh, shake that paint. Look at you. Give you a little shake action of the camera. Successfully returned with a Jack and Coke. Not a bad idea. I haven't had Jack in quite a while. Texas Tex. Yeah, Tex. Talking about Tex. Oh, welcome back, Orc Slayers. Good to see you too. That's I forgot that's didn't put two and two together there. Hey Spades, I'm drinking an espresso martini. I might explain it in depth every once in a while here, but simple answer is espresso, some coffee with oat milk that I had earlier, and a coffee syrup I made myself with some spices. Spices, sugar, coffee, water. Yeah, I'll say you have. Even in my chats, and I'm just the guy that, signs in so that there's no dead air in the evenings. I mean, there's always a little bit of dead air in the evenings, but you know what I mean. Oop, I forgot to clean you out. It was a shame. I'm going to have to do that. Let me actually just do that right now. At least get a little bit of that going. Cross-shaped malls keep away vampires. Yes. That's every time I see that, I'm going to laugh at that. The exception is the Hot Topic. They still get in there sometimes. Somehow. Oh, wait, this is the one that I fucked up that I need to replace. Never mind. I'm just going to stick that out to the side. Let me get the other dry brush. It's currently drinking cold Jägermeister. Like just straight Jägermeister? If so, whew, you're a braver man than I. Okay, let's see what this actually does. I'm wanting to try and do a little bit of colder skin and more or less everything on the Mordheim minis I've been doing. Kind of make them look like they're nighttime. So I'm curious how, instead of using a Titan buff for the dry brushing and highlighting, I'm going to try using the Glacier Blue from Vallejo Game Color and see how that goes. So, will you dry brush? That looks like it'll do the job, at least decently well, so. Okay. Nope, think I'm gonna need more than that. Flip you over. Flip me over, I'm poly. Better? That colors quite a lot, but I think that'll be okay. That is kind of the point here. I may have to use an entirely different brush for this if this doesn't really catch. No, it's doing all right. Yeah, I think that's doing fine. Catch the hands. Try to catch the shoulders pretty well. Gotta need more than that, actually. Ooh, the cough syrup taste. Well, man, I can't tell you how many hundreds and thousands of flavored Red Bulls I serve on a weekly or monthly basis. And most of them, especially the ones that are just strawberry or watermelon, they just taste like straight Robitussin. Honest to God. It's one of our biggest sellers, even though it's one of the least profitable things for us. But, man, I don't know how people just guzzle that shit. Let's see. I've had pie and ice cream. Apple pie. That is very on brand, Cookie Mama. I mean, it's not a cookie, but, well, I mean, apple pie and ice cream. That just screams you. The mall I worked in was a giant pain in the ass because we had to go in one side of the building and run cables all the way to the center of the giant thing. Yeah. Yes, Street Jaeger. Yep, I just lost in that mall. Boss came in and asked me some furniture movie questions. I didn't hear anything from the last few minutes. Well, you didn't miss much of anything aside from me talking about screaming children on a virtual roller coaster in a mall, and I think you might have missed me breaking down how I made that coffee syrup. Right now, I'm just getting started on this, doing my normal procedure for these zombie miniatures. This zombie miniature in particular is from Heresy Labs. They recently ran a Kickstarter. I think it was called By Witchfire and Sword, or With Witchfire and Sword. it was a very clearly made for Mordheim miniatures set. Um, and the main things that they featured in it were a Bretonnian force and an undead force. Um, and the miniatures that they make are just absolutely wonderful. I cannot recommend them enough, and they've helped out with the Mordheim community with various different things, including their Luther miniature that they made specifically for the Mordheim online community. It was wonderful. But yeah, the Kickstarter was great. These miniatures are from that. They're part of the Undead Warband. They're zombified versions of the citizens that they have released previously in other Kickstarters. So they're average townsfolk, but now turned into zombies. And I will be playing Mordheim with them eventually, once I get back around to actually doing some games with a friend. So my usual prep process for these miniatures is I've done the zenithal and hit the bottom with purple, and then did just kind of like a cold gray on top of that. And now I am finishing up the prep work by taking Glacier Blue from Vallejo Game Color and just dry brushing it, just to pick out all of the actual molded on texture on the fabric, and the face in particular, adding some highlighting to the to all of the higher points of the face, and then picking out the hair and everything like that. That way, because with these miniatures I predominantly work in transparent paints, this way I've got an easy, quick, and decent quality undershading finished on them already. Straight Jaeger, you're a man for South Park, yeah. It tastes better cold, goes down faster. I can't argue with that. Some stuff just does. Okay, that is probably... Let me just hit this last little... Try to get that little piece in there. I'll texture this a little bit more later on, but that's good for now. Okay. Just make sure I don't leave this completely fucked up. I'll thoroughly wash these brushes out some other time, you know. Okay. I wash that brush delicately only because it's so big that if I get rough with it, it just sloshes water all over the place out of this GW pot. Also, worth noting, the bottom of this pot is yeah, it's not visible on this one. The bottom of these pots is actually ribbed for your brush's pleasure. It is there's just some lines across the bottom that when you rub your brush across it, it agitates out all of the paint that's in it. Kind of similar to how like some oil painting brush holders and cleaners will have like a metal mesh in the bottom that you scrub your brush on. But the Reaper learned a paint kit, finished the Skeleton Archer, and now painting the Orc Slayer. Oh, well, conveniently, you have another Orc Slayer in chat. You might want to ask him how he wants to be painted. He might object. Yeah, I've never gotten any use out of the side shapers whatsoever. They're there for me. Fuck yeah, you can swear. Come on. Come on. Give it to me. You're Aussie. I know you know all the bad words. And some of the bad words that we don't even know. As long as I'm not hot pink. Never seen a hot pink orc before, as far as I can remember. And I never played World of Warcraft, so I'm not used to. Yeah, I do the exact same. That's exactly what I've been doing already. Anytime you see my brush go off screen and it comes back with a perfect point like this, that's because I had it in my mouth. It's excellent tongue work for other uses. So let me take a look. Most of these miniatures have excellent details kind of added into them, like I still just can't get over how cute it is that they've got this old lady that I think was supposed to be like the crazy cat lady of the village, and when you look at her, on her back she's got a black kitten that is eating her brains out of her brain pan, and then on the under her robe she's got her other little cat hidden in there. Oh, it's so good, little details. So this one looks like in her hair she has I'm not really sure what that is. That looks like a little tiny skull sort of thing, like it's a little pendant. I don't really know what that is. I'll have to figure that out. She's got, well, obviously she's got her guts spilling out. She's wearing a dress that's got like a corset sort of thing. I don't know what this is. This might be like prayer beads. I'm not really sure. And then her face has one eyeball dangling out of the socket. I don't know if you can see that. And also, please let me know if I need to turn the exposure up if it's too dark and you can't see details because of that. But yeah, if you look, one eyeball is actually in the socket right here. One of them right there is actually dangling out of the eye socket. That is a very nice touch. I'm going to have to think hard about how I'm going to paint that because I don't think I'm going to be able to actually do individual veins. Butcher's knife, because I think she's supposed to be like a tavern wench. And then I guess this is just scraps of cloth hanging off of her belt right here. And outside of that, it's just a pretty normal dress and bare feet down there on the bottom. So, anyways, I'm going to get started. I'm going to be doing the same thing that I've done before with my modified version of Vince Venturella's How to Paint Zombie Skin recipe. First step in that, after you get your dry brushing done for your little bit of highlighting, is you move into washes on the skin. And I'm going to do the skin first so I can make sure to hit the other parts later on before I do the dress so I can redo it. Let me hit the, while I'm doing this, let me check the chat. Green, metal, and leather. Yeah, well, there you go. Half of our language is made up. Hey, all languages made up. Just, you know, some of it makes more sense than others. So I don't even have the remotest hand-eye coordination. Well, Amy, you can always... It's one of those sort of things. I had decent hand-eye coordination, but my hands... It probably won't really show up on stream, but my hands shake like a leaf, even when I've got them, like, stuck on the table. I had so much trouble when I first started painting, but... it's just like when you ask artists, there's a lot of people that do, you know, digital art, regular art or whatnot, that there's a handful of them that actually are talented, that they've just always had a knack for it, but 99% of them, when you ask them, they will tell you, no, it's not a matter of talent, it's a matter of practice. If you just do it, you do a lot of it, you will get better at it, but B, you'll also learn a lot of little tricks and tips, and techniques of certain things that help you get the result that you want without having to do what you think you might have to in the beginning, which, like, most people look at this and assume that 90% of miniature painting is just laying down layers and layers and layers and layers of opaque paints and always making sure to get the exact right highlights here and there. And then when you get down to it, it's like almost all of my painting is just being very sloppy with applying shadows and highlights, and then using transparent paints that just kind of do their thing. And honestly, the biggest thing that's helped me for the hand-eye coordination element and the avoiding the shakiness is this. I use this magnifier painting lamp, and when I get right up on it and I get sucked into the mini with that magnifier lamp, I can't tell you how much that helps my actual coordination. Like, my ability to get the brush to go where I want it to goes through the roof when I'm using this thing and really zoomed in on it. I do that too, but it's hard to keep a triple O from going to hell otherwise. Yeah. Delightfully gruesome. Yeah, I think so too. Most certain you said already, but I forgot the answer. What model is that? Okay, so this model, again, it's almost like you're at work or something, Countess, and not paying attention to me. This is a miniature from Heresy Labs, is the company that makes them. I don't remember if they're UK-based or Australia-based. I'm fairly certain they're UK-based, but they might be Spanish or something. Frankly, I should just shut up and say it's from Heresy Labs. They make quite a few different kinds of miniatures, but a huge part of their catalog is their Mordheim-inspired miniatures, which are very clearly intended to be bought by people who are still playing Mordheim today. You can be using washes. So I'm going to grab my Fugazi brush. That's a high-ish quality synthetic from Broken Toad. They're pretty decent. Anyways, it's this miniature in particular is from their latest Kickstarter, Previous Kickstarters, they had done one that was citizens of the old world, so it was all just like townsfolk that existed within Mordheim. So when they released this new Kickstarter, when they had an undead warband as part of it, facing off against the Bretonnians, which are the guys in knights and horses and whatnot, fancy armor with peasants underneath them. The undead warband that they had in it, all the designs for the zombies from the undead warband were specifically zombified versions of the regular citizens that they had made in a previous Kickstarter. So when you look through the whole thing, it's like there's a zombified version of the town crier. There's a zombified version of the butcher. There's a zombified version of one of the Landschnicks and one of the Sisters of Sigmar, which are lines they already had out before. There's the little cat lady, like I was talking about. There's a zombie executioner with a giant axe, all kinds of stuff. And those are all miniatures that you can find in non-zombie version on their web store from previous Kickstarters. So I thought it was really neat. First step I'm going into right now is applying the skin tones. So I'm going for the Reikland Flesh Shade first. Just going to apply that to all the different places where there's any skin, which in this case is pretty much just hands and what little of the arms might be shown, and then the face and the feet. Oh, never mind. She's actually got her shoulders and her chest hanging out. So, yeah, I'll get that too. Yes, indeed. Nice chest ahead. Is the cat a zombie too? Yeah. If you look at them, they are like, let me see if I don't know if this will show up very well for you guys, but like if you look, get the light over here so you can actually see it correctly. If you look at like the side of that cat, you can see its exposed ribs, and also like on its hindquarters. Might be harder to see, but there's some parts where it's got flesh is kind of fallen off or bitten out. They are eating her. So like this one is eating her. It's pulled the skin off of her head and bitten through her skull, and it's eating chunks of her brain. Oh my god! What was that? What just happened? Oh, it's a sub. Jesus, 74 gift subs so far. My god, Night Clerk, thank you. And also thank you for following, Hopkins. Yeah, then down on the bottom, she's also got one of the cats in her skirts. So you can see it's hanging on, like it's riding in her skirts and holding on to the bottom of her leg, but it's also eating her. It's eating her ankle area on the front part, whatever. But it's also got a hole in its head. So yes, it is also a zombie. Cool. Thank you for the gift sub. Thanks, man. All right. Thank you for following. Thank you for following, Countess. Thank you for staying on top of it, Cookie. Give me a little drinky here. Oh god, that spice is so good. I love it. Let me grab my recipe here. I've got my own altered version of this, but I still forget to grab it, so. Primer horror below, Zenithal, driver's pale sand, Reikland flesh on flesh, and then the Athonian camo shade. Yep, that's exactly what I thought. Okay, so continuing on. Get Reikland flesh shade going again. Give it a shake, give it a grab. Get a little more than that, because we're going to go for the larger areas now. This is going all over her back, and all over her chest, and the torso region. Just it's the exposed parts. You get me. Words keep coming into my brain to describe these things, and I'm just like, no. That's not what you need to be saying right now. Let's get that wash on pretty much all the skin area. Make sure I at least touch the areas once so that it'll tint them, even if I don't let it pool all that much. Got to get up into her neck here because she's still got that model there under their hair. Spot there. Hey TK, how you doing? 30 jokes must. Yeah, you know my pain. Just wait until I start painting pinup models on here. I'm sure Countess has plenty of minis that I could be. If Countess actually winds up painting anything, I'm sure 90% of the things that she would wind up having on her stream would be much, much dirtier than anything I could come up with here. But I'm trying to keep things clean for the WBPL, so you probably won't be seeing many, if not, if any, sexy minis from me at any point. Outside of just the, occasional that. Brandy and whiskey is an odd thing, but it ain't bad. Is it brandy and whiskey mixed together, like in the same cup? If so, no, probably not bad. I don't know that I would do that depending on the brandy and whiskey in question. I don't know that I would want those flavors mixed, but I can see that being not too bad, especially if you're just talking about like E&J and Jack Daniels or something like that, not top shelf stuff. My maze is pretty tame. Okay, you really want to say that? Well, I've seen that Waluigi you painted. Was it Waluigi or Wario? Either way. Wah! Jameson Black Brown. Okay, yeah, there you go. Flavored. Yeah, I can see flavored brandy going quite well with it. So I'm parallaxing the team about the other night about the campaign. Wookie and I are supporting a minifig called D&D as a Woman. Very tasteful, interesting. Oh, that's a neat idea. I would actually like to see that. I'll have to check that out. That is something that there is sort of a lack of, not just in miniatures, but also like in fantasy in general. Is like, as goofy as the whole rest of it is. Helltaker is a game that I did I ever play it? I don't remember if I even played it, but I saw tons of art of it. But it's like, I like the fact that I enjoyed the suits, all the suits and things like that, that they had, the very well dressed, impeccably dressed demon women and so on. It would be neat to see more, like you're saying, tastefully dressed women. And also, I frankly would like the opposite. Well, we do kind of get the opposite. I was going to say it's also like there's a severe lack of the chainmail bikini aesthetic for, I want to say at least, there's a severe lack of the chainmail bikini or impractical armor for men as well in fantasy. But when I say that, then I stop and go like, well, yeah, but Conan the Barbarian and similar like barbarian-esque characters absolutely count. I mean, like, look at this. When I just grab any of these untamed beasts, it's just like, yeah, that is exactly impractical male armor. And if you go looking, you can find miniatures like this, no problem. It's difficult to find very impeccably dressed women in miniatures. I mean, they're out there, but... Oh, congratulations! You are now a sub. And you're not even in here to hear me make that joke. Okay, people, whose life are we making exciting tonight? Courtesy Flush TK. Oh, you're just saying like who are you gonna get substitute, right? Didn't have the bunch Jameson left, so I would pour the rest of it. Yeah, no, there you go. That's to me, that's perfectly acceptable. I'm sure to some people that is an absolute Philistine move. Philistine? Whichever. What's the actual correct term? Is it not? Is it Philistine? No, I'm thinking of something else. Well, whatever. There's some people that is, I'm sure, absolutely heretical, but yeah. Manufacturer. Okay, I'll take that. I'll take a look at that. Thank you. Yeah, it is a nice barbarian. Not, not talking about my paint job. I'm talking about the miniature itself. That's from the Games Workshop's Warcry. It's the Untamed Beasts. They're supposed to be cultists of chaos from Gur, I think. Philistine. Yeah. They're supposed to be cultists, chaos cultists, essentially, or chaos followers from the realm of beasts. So they're all they're very much into the whole run down giant prey, catch it, kill it, eat it, and gain its strength. So all of them are wearing like animal furs and pelts and things like that. They're all very much in the vein of not necessarily Conan the Barbarian, a little bit of that, more in the vein of like fire and ice, like the Frazetta, Ralph Bakshi, and oh god, who's the other one? I'm forgetting the name of. Oh god, well, whatever. If you know Fire and Ice, you probably know who I'm talking about. Keep in drinking level, maybe? Yeah, maybe. Yes, that I think that's what I'm thinking of. Boris Vallejo. Wasn't he? Yeah, he was the one that was Frazetta's nephew, right, or something similar. I could be wrong though, but I thought that Fire and Ice was Boris Vallejo, Frank Frazetta, and Ralph Bakshi as the triple threat supergroup. Hey, is that Diggs behind the WBPL 76 chat? The late night crew is doing pretty darn okay. I'm a little more peppy than I have been recently, but trying not to be a little bit too over the top. I'm enjoying myself either way. Okay, that Raglan Flesh Shade is, I think, dry enough for me to move on. So I'm going to hit it with the next step, which is doing the exact same thing, but doing the exact same thing with Athonian Camo Shade. If that is Diggs, then yeah, happy birthday. Ken Kelly, yes, yeah. No, I know who Ken Kelly is. I know him, Kiss album covers, Rainbow album covers, which Rainbow Rising, that's one of my favorite album covers of all time. I haven't had the money, but I had actually, like 2 weeks before he died, I had been looking to get one of his signed prints of the Rainbow Rising album cover, but I just can't bring myself to. Probably should still, because that's something that I think that is going to go quickly, and there's only so many of them now. But yeah, that, and then Man of War, and so on and so forth. But I think Boris Vallejo was the one that worked with Frazetta and Ralph Bakshi on Fire and Ice. I could be completely wrong. Oh, it is Diggs. Happy birthday, Diggs! Happy birth! Everybody, tell Diggs happy birthday. Yeah, there we go. Yes, can we get Diggs in the chat, please? Diggs in the chat, everybody. Diggs in the chat, please. Carrying on, as I said, I'm going to grab some of that Athonian Camo Shade, and I'm going to put that directly over the Raglan Flesh Shade that I just did, but I'm going to make sure to not let it pool quite as much. The goal here, as I've said before, red and gray are somewhat antagonistic. Oh, I forgot the Raglan on the inside of her tear. I'll get that in a second. Red and gray, I think it's just opposing colors. I always, in my head, I think antagonistic as the term. But red and green, when mixed together, generally turn to gray because they desaturate each other. So when you view skin, generally we read red tones in skin as an indicator of vibrancy and of life and virility, because that means that you've got a lot of blood flowing and it's all at the surface, which is a very healthy thing, very heavy element of the blush response, and so on and so forth. So, complementary colors, I don't know. Either way, you put them together and they turn to gray. So that's what I'm doing right now. Is I've put the Raglan Flesh Shade on there, so she looks like she's got, flesh tone, very brownish red, or reddish brown, I suppose. So it's got a very lively color to it, even when I put it over a cold color like I had. So adding the green into it takes that skin tone, and I'm not letting it pool too much, so it's just kind of going on as a glaze. It will desaturate that down and pull some of the perception of red out of the skin, and it makes it appear much more dead. specifically in a very like 80s Toxic Avenger sort of, classic Nukem High, that sort of like goofy comic book zombie skin. Not so much like at the end of this when I finish, it'll look very leathery, as opposed to some other form like depictions of zombie skin. It doesn't look quite as like Game of Thrones did a great job with that, where most of the people that were still living or freshly killed were just very cold because their blood was pooling and no longer flowing. They had no warmth left in them, so they kind of just turned blue. Whereas the ones that started to get older and decompose much more heavily turned very, very brown. Whoa, Night Owl. Calm down, dude. Calm down, my man. Or don't. That that helps. Doesn't help like me specifically, but the BPL or the WBPL channel in general, absolutely. Thank you so much. Well, I mean, if I'm going to be perfectly honest, I have absolutely no idea what those do, but someone told me they're good, so I'm just going to keep it at that. Is there a horror movie in the KFC? Like, are you talking KFC like Kentucky Fried Chicken? Oh, wait, no, we're talking Knife Fight City. Oh, God. I mean, if you're a film student, I'm sure every KFC movie is going to be a horror movie. But I don't know if there's any specifically come up with yet. There might be. Some of them could theoretically be like, I think, wasn't the Anger Sand supposed to be one of them? No, that was maybe. But anyways, yeah, I'm sure that there will be one if there is not one yet devised. Okay. So now that's the green on all that skin. I gotta go back and get the skin on the area that I missed. That can be a party too, if you don't like cheese, I mean. Cheese for everybody. Yeah. Diggs needs a Candyman style horror movie. Call It's Always Diggs. Yeah. Happy birthday. Oh, right, the voice channel. Yeah, sorry about that, Diggs. I will, I keep meaning to do that, and then the days that I stream here, I wind up just like being busy all the way up until the stream. I would love to be in chat, but right as I was about to do it, I was like, wait a minute, I haven't set up the Discord input to allow that. If that's something you want to walk me through right now, that only takes like 5 minutes, I'll do it, but if it's something that'll interrupt the stream for too long, and you don't think it's worth bothering with, then let me know either way. Like I said, I can do it though. I assume it's just putting the input into OBS and then getting into the Discord channel, but I wasn't sure which one specifically to put as the audio input. Angus Sands, a horror film would just be 30 days later, but in a desert. Well, it would be. That's the thing that's fun, is it would be anywhere probably except for a desert, because the Anger Sand has consumed the entire world. So I think it would literally probably just wind up being like, they would just do the shots like on the studio set for the normal, for like the gangster movies and the they would just do it on the normal city set that they do like every other Knife Fight City on, but then they just put like a Desert Storm filter over the top of it, so that the entire time they're on the ground, there's just like this in front of your eyes layer of sandstorm blowing by. Slash movie set in the Knife Fight City would be awesome. Yeah, exactly. Especially with a hammer. Descriptions allow you to... Oh, god damn it, Will. He got us. He got us, ladies and gentlemen. Will got us. Stop feeding him. Stop giving him ammunition. Just allow you to use emotes and watch without the ads at the first. That money goes towards helping people get equipment to stream, improve their streams, and to help do stupid things for the channel like gravy wrestling. Oh, that's right. Chippy's got to do the gravy wrestling, doesn't he? Ah, my God, Night Owl. 160 subscriptions? Huh. So does that money... So the subscription the person actually buys and the money goes to WBPL? If so, that's cool. My God, he did it again. We can't let him keep getting away with this. Hey, welcome back, Countess. You missed a lot of stuff. I think Cookie was asking about you streaming and or painting. I don't know when the Gravy Wrestling is, but I know that was the plan. I think wasn't it the plan? Diggs and Cookie was to sign Chippy up for a Gravy Wrestling tournament somewhere in the UK. Okay, I see. You were making porridge. You were not making porridge. You were making oatmeal. Shush. Oh, that's right. Daddy Bezos does get his cut always. Can it be restreamed on here if it's not already going to show up here? It'll probably wind up being if it's not on this channel, I'm sure it would wind up being on the BPL channel. But I also don't know if that's an event that's going to like allow people to film it and post it publicly. You never know with that sort of thing. So that might be something where it's just like we just get images posted on like the BPL Twitter or the WBPL Twitter or something similar. But it'll, whatever happens with that, if it does happen, it'll get around. Don't worry. Yeah. Orc Slayers, I don't know if you listened to the podcast, but there was an episode with Chippy on it if you want to get an idea for how the man sounds and a little bit of his personality. You can kind of get an idea of what we're talking about when we're saying we're going to sponsor this man to go Gravy Wrestling. Okay, now we're just putting a little bit more of that Athonian camo shade in there, and it's pooling a little bit more than I wanted. That's a little bit heavier, so I'm just going to wick that off with the brush. Wipe it off on the napkin. Wick off just a little bit more. Perfect, I think. Good. Nice. Yeah, I hope so. Gotta love the Eldonius coasters. Got my own set of posters. Oh, yeah. No, I bought, I think, every pack from him except for the... I didn't have the money at the time to get the Marauder pack. Or specifically, I just had other things I really needed to spend it on, so... yeah, I'm talking about the BPL podcast. The Black Pants Legion podcast, not the Berkeley Public Library podcast. God, that's a good syrup. One of these days I'm going to have to do a cooking show also in my own kitchen if I can find out how to actually stream from that area. Because I would love to make you folks some coffee. Yes, I would. And I guarantee that you'll like it if I do too. Okay, so the next bits, moving on from that, I'm going to let that dry and do its thing for a little bit. I am going to hit her guts really quick. I'm going to get all up in those guts. Yeah. So the first thing that needs to go on there is going to be, I used this last week, or second to last, not the very last one that we did, but the one before that. I was experimenting with some of these. I had picked up the Army Painter Speed Paint Mega Set, so I've been experimenting with them. I already am a huge fan of contrast paints, so when Army Painter came out with their own, I was intrigued because they are cheaper per ounce than contrast paints, and generally speaking, when I saw what they were showing off and what people were talking about, I was intrigued by the fact that they generally leave a much more even coat than most of the contrast paints do. They somewhat do more than contrast paints did. They do the whole one coat and done sort of thing a little bit better. So they perform better at contrast's stated goal than contrast does, which is not necessarily always a good thing, because that's an element that I do like about the contrast range, is that you've got a lot of different consistencies in paints. So when you look at something like Wildwood that covers everything just very brown, and then you got something like Magos Purple that practically just barely tints things, it's a little bit splotchy when you try to use it as a whole color. That Magos Purple is also excellent for things like putting it into the, well, I'll show you a little bit later on, for putting it into the cracks and crevices of things like the zombies' hands, to make it look like they've got blood pooled in there, because they just kind of discolor the area that they sit in, as opposed to like turning it purple. So, but for uses just like this is a perfect use of this is the Army Painter equivalent color to Magos Purple, which is Purple Alchemy, I think, is what it's named. But this one is like, this covers a lot more heavier and a lot more fully than Magos Purple does. So for the purposes of just getting a quick pink red base coat down on her guts, absolutely lovely. Okay, let's see. The podcast in your team. I haven't found a podcast put up there that wasn't 5-star worthy. Yeah, I know. Marauder pack was good. I either missed out on the Mackie pack or there wasn't one. There was a Mackie pack. I think that was the very first one. Yeah, because it was Mackie pack, and then wasn't it Mackie pack, Rifleman, Mackie, Rifleman, Marauder, Warhammer, I think. So I think they came out in that order. What's a Cheez-It? What, did somebody... Where did that come from? Did somebody mention a Cheez-It somewhere that I didn't see? Countess, why are you asking about a Cheez-It? No. Is purple the technical term? It's... What did I actually say? Purple? Standard Cheez-It box. Yep. Oh, well, okay then. I have an idea of what you're like. I've never actually met you in person, so I don't know what you're like. I can't confirm that you're actually like that in real life. Just made a baker's dozen of cinnamon rolls and fridge them. Hopefully they keep for 2 weeks, otherwise I'll never be able to finish them off. Oh man, I know that feeling. Oh, some of the best things that I've made in my life are things that I've regretted having to throw away later on because they get moldy or they just get too stale and they're just like inedible at that point. I break my fake teeth on them. Okay, so that's a base coat there. That was the big thing that I was predominantly somewhat worried about getting on there before I did her dress. I think I'm also going to, let's see, what else do I need to do on her skin before I do the thing? Doing the joints with the Magos Purple and potentially Caribou Crimson. And then go to the highlights. Yeah, so that's fine. Two cinnamon rolls a day, that will get you through that batch. Yeah, pretty much. You've been subject to some of my dumb questions. How do you not expect this by now? Yeah. You know how it is. I know people are raving about the quick shades and all, but honestly, the paints lately that really make me happy were the neon colors. Are you talking about the like the new Citadel paints that are coming out that haven't been released yet, or are you talking like something in Army Painter? I'm not sure what you're talking. Okay, where do I go next? I'm thinking I'm going to go with the dress next, because anything that I kind of splash around, if I accidentally splash a bunch of paint all over any of the other pieces, it's easy for me to fix, but I don't want to, yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. So now the question is, what color do I make her dress? Oh, the Reaper line? Yeah. There's a couple of different lines that have fluorescence and neon colors. The main downside is usually just that they fluorescence and neon colors tend to be very, very, very transparent. So to get full coverage and opacity, you really got to put on, like, some of them are like 8, 9, 10, 11 layers before you will have full coverage. What do you think, guys? What color should I make her dress be? I'm thinking a red. I'm thinking I might try to make it like a velvety red sort of color. And so as a matter of fact, while I figure that out, or I don't know how to make a poll. How do I even make a poll on here? I'll have to figure that out for next time. But I'll leave these red paints off to the side. If you guys have better ideas for what color to make her dress, let me know. If not, I am going to actually just start doing some texture work for that so that her dress looks a little bit worn and kind of ripped up and everything on the edges before I put a transparent paint over it. And actually, before I do that, I need to hydrate a little bit. So give me 1 second. While we wait, we hydrate. Getting there. A little more. Yeah, with these ones, so with these zombies, I am not necessarily going to do the whole like completely splattered and gore sort of thing. She will have, I mean, obviously she's got her guts spilling out, so there'll be some gore there, and I will make that very clear. But these are ones that I wanted more to be like most of them have weapons of some sort. Like she's got the knife, so it's like I'll put the red effects, the blood effects on the knife, but I'm not going for the whole like zombie feeding frenzy thing. These are supposed to be people that are, if not recently raised, then have been raised and are paraded around as part of a war band by the actual vampire in question, and the vampire character that I came up with, that I have a model for, and also need to paint one of these times. Is she likes to play dress up with all of her little minions, so once she gets them, she will often, like her skeleton warriors that she has, just a handful of them, she likes to fuck with their outfits and make them wear funny things because they can't say no because they're just skeleton warriors that are being puppeteered. So I don't really know how that would really play into this sort of thing, but like this was the only person that I was going to do an actual vibrant red on if I do a vibrant red. But a vampire bride is what that zombie reminds me of. Yeah, kind of also. I think she's supposed to have been a bar wench. Like as far as like what the other model is in the other line that's unzombified. I was thinking about doing her dress white, but for one, I I don't like painting white cloth, and I need to practice it more so I can get better at it. But the main thing is of why I didn't want to do white. Excuse me while I just give you a whole bunch of excuses. But this is one of the other miniatures that I have. So this is the one that I am going to do with white cloth at some point. She's a sister of Sigmar. So her whole outfit is predominantly going to wind up being white. So I was wanting to try to do a little bit different here and there. So like the only other two minis I've painted so far are the cat lady, like I was talking about, and she's got the kind of green corduroy looking pants on the purple top, purpley pink magenta. And then this guy's got the I jokingly modeled it or painted him after myself, so he's wearing I'm actually wearing the same shirt that I'm going to try to paint it to look like whenever I get a chance to sit down and do it. So it'll be quite a bit lighter looking because it'll have the plaid on it. Let's see. What have I missed in chat by ranting for a little bit? Been a benefit of a bigger guy. Can you? Yeah. Vampire Bride's what that reminds me of. Yep. Responded to that. Brownie deep red, like a dark crimson, like it's dirty. Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. If I do a red, I'm thinking that I'm going to wash it down hardcore with, if not like a brown wash, then I've got some of the AK Interactive like dark brown or streaking grime enamel washes. So I was thinking about doing something similar to that, so it looks like she's just absolutely been drugged through the dirt. A light blue would be kind of nice, actually. You are right, though. Do a white top and brown bottom from it getting dirty. Yeah, that's what I was planning on doing with the Sister of Sigmar one. Look at the way I did for my Grimdark bust, maybe something like that. Yeah, possibly. You'll have to. Do you have an Instagram link you can post to me for that? If that's allowed in Twitch chat, I don't know what can get you clapped or not, but just thought of a female vampire who raises the dead so she can play dress up with her gang. Yeah, that's exactly the idea that I came with. Is that I've actually got the mini right here. Let me just gingerly put this on here. This was the mini I decided on. It's actually the iconic Swashbuckler from the Pathfinder official minis by Reaper. So she's just got a sword, some light leather-ish armor, what looks like a buckler on her hip, a dagger in her hand, and then a cloak over her left arm. But the idea that I ran with was like one of my friends pointed that out to me when I was looking at the stat line, or when we were looking at the stat lines for vampires and what they can potentially get up to in Mordheim. It is still way, way, way below the baseline vampire stat line in Warhammer Fantasy. And so the point that he made to me is like, you got to realize the vampires that are wandering around in Mordheim are like, they're practically sent here either as punishment or as like just to get them out of someone's hair and give them something to do because nobody else wants them around. So they think they're big time, they think they're hot shit, but they are the small fish in the pond when it comes to the undead hierarchy. And so some of them are just like absolute dregs of society, but I like the idea of some of them also just being like young vampires that think that they're hot shit and don't realize how unimportant they actually are. So she thinks it's like a vacation, that she's coming into Mordheim to seek her fame and fortune and have fun along the way, toying with all of the the lesser mortals who are truthfully only 1 point of weapon skill and strength and toughness below her. So I started off the list as like a hunting party, so it's her and her hunting dogs, which are the dire wolves, and then her she's got one dreg that's like a guide to the city, which is this guy right here, just some rando dude that she enthralled. So it's just like an actual Mordheimer who was mortal and is now her little Sherpa to run around with. And then the other dregs I have are two skeletons, like that she was given as part of her like retinue when she left Bretonia, because she's supposed to be one of the Musilon vampires, and so she's there. Those are the ones that like she likes to play dress up with. So I've actually got like 10 different miniatures to represent the same skeletons that just have like different outfits and different armor and whatnot on. And so I like the idea of the same thing with like the townspeople, that she probably just finds, kills, and raises townspeople, and then enjoys picking the ones that have the nicest outfits, along with the ones that are very useful. So like that's part of the reason why you also got like, here's the Landsknecht looking dude from the what would be like a Reichland force. So he's got the nice big poofy hat, still got the feather on it, still got his shiny armor, which is going to get really, really dingy, and so on and so forth. Just absolutely not the kind of person that should be here in Mordheim. But hey, she found him and she liked his outfit. So anyways, rant over. There's my Mordheim concept. Something we're working on this week. Well, it's the Banshee bust by Loot Studios. Yeah, the red shirts of vampires, exactly. Montage of the skeletons. Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that. Okay, so let me check this really quick. Instagram, show me all the rest of that stuff. Yeah, that dingy white wouldn't be too bad on this. I don't want to have too much of that in the Force, especially with it being trying to go a little bit kind of dark, because that's almost the kind of thing I got going on with the Butcher as it is, with his Butcher's apron. So if I bring them all together, you might have Butcher's apron that's all dirty next to Tavern Wench in dress that also has a white dress dirty look to it, that's also next to a Sister of Sigmar that also is in white dress dirty look to it. So I'm not sure if I'm going to go with the white. And also just the white's just a pain in the ass for me to paint right now because I haven't really gotten it down yet. Oh, what were the skeleton figures? Where'd you find them? Come on. All right, a little bit of that glacier blue going down. so I can stitch in a little more texturing. I do like the idea of the light blue, actually, the more I think about it. Think about that as well. So I saw perfect stuff, much material. Big Bad Toy Store. Let me see. Oh, little action figures. That's cute. All right. Time for some texturing. Just gonna pick her up. The dry brushing's done quite a lot of good work on this so far. I'm just gonna kind of hit some of the areas where there's like this tear here. Just try to get a little bit of texture. Hashes, slashes, things to make it look like it's been ripped. That up a little bit closer. There we go. That's good. One more down here. Oh yeah, no, that's something that I've been noticing a lot of people coming around to recently, like YouTubers, hobby YouTubers and whatnot, starting to realize how useful dry brushing is when you're not just mindlessly blowing it over everything. Get these little notches. Whoops, that's a bit much. That's okay. Oh yeah. Forget the joy of painting, we're here for the joy of dry brushing. Explicitly. All I'm doing with this is just getting some paint on a nice sharp brush edge and just tapping. Just to add little bits like it's got some scratched up or worn out texture on it. Whoops. Try not to hit the guts. Not a big deal. I'll be highlighting the guts later on anyways. Try to hit these little bottom areas to get some definition where there's the actual rips. Oh, I just noticed she's actually got like... Is that an overdress and an underdress? Or is that... Oh, that must be an apron if she's the tavern wench on her front. So maybe I can do that worn out... maybe I can do that kind of weathered white that you were talking about. Just do it on the apron specifically. Yeah, I can do that. Just got to finish highlighting it here before I apply anything that would bring it to that color. Kind of try to edge highlight some of these little raised areas. Let's see. 2 years ago, we played Mordheim. We had some GW fanboys we like to mess with. My solution to annoy them was to buy a few packs of 5mm skeletons. Stick 4. That's great. Yeah, I've done things like that in the past, not for Mordheim specifically, but that is exactly the kind of thing that I've done with like my Vampire Counts army um, for Warhammer Fantasy. I love that sort of thing. Dry brushing. I think just got here painting Steam. No, not painting Steam. Painting Stream. I'm not painting any Steam tonight. Tonight we are painting Zombie. Just one. Just finish your second ever mini. Oh, that's neat. If Diggs, are you still here? If you are, can you tell me what was the email address? Was it like art at WBPL something or other for the where you can submit? Yeah, Mad Ducks. If Diggs can pop up this email address if you want to, yeah, art at WBPL76.com. If you send your art, any of the miniatures that you have over there that you want, Parallax occasionally features them on the Parallax painting stream. And I might start doing something similar at some point, but he's already got that set up to do it. So, yeah, if you have anything you want to submit just for funsies to kind of have people be able to see what the community is coming up with, then absolutely. Doesn't matter if it's great or not, it's what you painted. I think that looks great. Dude, that's certainly tabletop. That is absolutely tabletop standard. Were you going after any particular, like, did you base that off of some particular regiment or something similar in Battletech lore, or was that just your own particular pattern you came up with? It looks like camouflage. I don't know if that's what you were going for, like almost like a Grey Death Legion camouflage sort of thing, without the Grey Death Legion symbols. Red green colorblind or something similar but different? Yeah. I had a friend in high school who was red green colorblind. The only time that I ever saw someone mess with him on it was he was kind of being an asshole once to one of our friends' dad. And so the next morning, when everybody was having breakfast, my dad, or his dad, had used to drink like a superfood green shake sort of thing in the mornings, like spinach, kale, and broccoli and wheatgrass and all that shit kind of blended up together. And my buddy, who's red green colorblind, that was being an asshole to him, was drinking orange juice. So when he wasn't looking, the dad swapped their glasses. So the next time he went for orange juice, he got a mouthful of superfood, just fucking blended up green shit. He was not a happy camper, but God, did he deserve it. Yeah, but you're twice got once. That is words to live by. Let's go for the 26th Arcturian Guards. Oh, that's actually really cool. That's a cool method. I'll have to try that sometime on something. Curious to see how that actually works, like in practice, as in like in action, me doing it myself. All right, like I said, all I'm doing right here is just manually placing some highlights before I use any transparent paints, trying to kind of pull back up anything that might have gotten painted over when I was doing the skin washes, and also hit highlights on any of the areas that may have been missed by the dry brushing, and add more texturing overall to make all the cloth look very worn and scratched and torn through. Most of it's pretty good already, though. Yeah, it touch the brush shape when it comes to a mouse sleep or something. Yeah. Yeah, don't worry about it. Almost everybody that uses washes and things for the first times almost always overshoot pretty heavily. I did for quite some time. I kind of had to change my painting style around entirely to stop overshooting things and making them all way too dark. Blasters. Smith McBlasters. Nice. Do those threads a little bit more to kind of make them pop. I think I'm going to go with a lot more, not a lot more, but just a little more highlighting in general on the apron thing, just so it pops a little bit more than the stuff underneath. Because an apron's already going to be worn out more than her dress would be, I think, from having already been used for many, many, many years before she got zombified. Oops, pop that up so you can see it a little bit better. Try to get this patch here where it's ripped open. Highlight that a bit. If I hit the gory bits, not a big deal. I'm going to be doing more work on those later on. A little bit of highlighting now is not going to kill it. That's right, I need to address this part where the apron starts. Just put a line there to kind of make it much more clear separation. Cover up that brown splotch I accidentally got on there. There we go. The right side, I think that's pretty much good. As far as the ending point over there. Let's get some more highlighting up here. And then there's this little bit here. Okay. Yep. So I'm assuming that this is an apron that she is wearing on top of her dress. So the dress underneath, I think I am going to go with making it red, because I still can't get that out of my head, and I like the idea of a red dress on a I like the idea of a red dress on a barmaid for some reason, and I'll just use some of the soft tone, I think is what I was doing last time. I think that's what got the effect I wanted it to be. Could be wrong though. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to do the red. So, get this all shaken up. I haven't used either of these yet, so let me kind of test out what they look like. Single drop of the slaughter red, and then the blood red underneath of it. Okay, so first off, blood red, because it's right there on the bottom. Okay. That can go on pretty evenly, it looks like. So now the slaughter red. Huh, that's so weird. Okay, so I'm thinking I'm going to want to go for the blood red. That seems to be a little bit less opaque and a little bit less like vibrantly a little dulled down, a little more dulled down. So let's hope that it kind of sticks with that when I actually apply it to the miniature. I am going to use a Raphael. I'm just going to use the number 1 this time. Oops. Get a little bit more of that on the palette. Okay. Let's see where this goes. Red going on first because I want to not bother with doing the apron until I can make sure that I haven't accidentally splotched something onto the apron, or that I can correct it afterwards. So let's see if I can make this work. Hopefully it doesn't get too streaky. All the way into the cracks. Okay, last bit there. One more on the brush. Come on, combine with that. Oh dear. Well, this might still work out fine though. A couple more coats might help with it. And some highlighting up top. Oh, that's more than I wanted. Always gets a little bit easier once you get to these sorts of parts where there's much more pronounced kind of divots. Because then you can just do one and then go to the next one, then do one, go to the next one. The blending of it is a little bit easier. Oops. Getting this all over that apron, but that's okay. That's why I did that first, and I can fix it after I do this. Okay. That is not awful. I'll need to put another coat up there, so I'll probably texture that again and do it again. So I think that'll be fine for me to do on the upper area. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of water in the meantime. Just a needle right now, trying to learn sewing and cloth work. Turns out the dollar store. Oh, that's kind of neat. Yeah. Yeah, Bierski's got the idea. Got the right idea. Yeah, the grippers do help a little bit. Biggest thing that helped me, like I mentioned before, Bierski, for painting anything like this, for my brush control more than anything, these damn these things, the magnifier lamp dealios. When you put a miniature up to it, uh, you can see right there. It's like it makes it look huge, even though that's like way the heck down by the desk. So, oh, you do? Okay. Yeah, it was the first time I used it. It was like night and day. I don't even have eye problems or any sort of like real issues with my hands shaking. I used to, but I've gotten better brush control over the years. But that has helped my brush control more than any other element, aside from just painting a lot. Painting a lot helps, but that's the only tool I've had that actually like seriously helps a lot with it. Okay, going back into the contrast paint. Same thing, but on her, on the dress or on the top part of the dress. What you call that? The blouse. Pardon me if I don't talk while I'm doing this. This actually is taking more concentration than I sometimes expect because I'm kind of trying to beat the clock on the paint sort of setting and curing in its area. Because once it does, it's hard to get it to blend with the next section of it that you're going to be applying. So this is kind of the time trial mode of painting. And then I think that apron starts about right there. So I'm just going to go, well, no, that looks like it's honestly just a rip. So getting there, almost. Can't forget the underside of the sleeves and everything. Okay, now just do touch-ups on it. Okay. Double it? Maybe. Not sure. Oh, yeah, that works. Starter Armory paints. What brand are you talking about? Just so I can get an idea of what you actually um, have given them already. Yeah, well, there you go. There is the red dress. I think I like that. It kind of has a satin look to it. Not like, I mean, yes, the finish itself is kind of satin, but I'm talking like it looks kind of like a satin dress to me. So I will now do the coat of. Let me put these back. Slaughter blood. Yeah, did you give her? Did you give her some like army painter paints? Is what you're talking about, or something similar? Yeah, take your time. I'll be here all night. Okay, I think when I did the butcher, I used. I think I used soft tone. We'll find out. When I did his apron is what I meant, sorry. Just gonna cover the whole thing in soft tone. Then I'll highlight it again. With, oh shit, I forgot to go back and put the highlighting back in. Damn it. Yeah, I can just do that. Easy. Just stitch in these glacier blue highlights. Actually, I should be using the... This one's getting worn out and needs a condition. I need to use this one. Okay, all I'm doing right now is just going to use that glacier blue to cover up all of the splotches where I accidentally slathered some of that blood red paint onto her apron area. Oops, that is too much. That's a little on her dress. Good, okay. Going a little too ham there. Let's try that again. There we go, much better. Gonna take a couple of coats. It's getting thinned down now. And it's kind of just turning it pink at first. Easy fix, just gotta be proactive and a little bit stubborn. Start a Reaper set and some metallic Vallejo that you had. Okay, so Reaper stuff is pretty alright. For a higher quality set, my general recommendation always when somebody is first starting to get into painting, Vallejo paints, particularly the Vallejo, the model color paint set. This paint range is that's just the golden standard. Like that behaves like when you watch video tutorials and they don't like specify anything about the paint range, the things they tell you to do insofar as like use 2 thin coats and a handful of other things like that, all of the standard miniature painting techniques Vallejo performs, generally speaking, like pretty much across the board, exactly like you would want a miniature paint to perform. Some of their paints, different paints, are going to be some are going to be more opaque or less opaque, but that's predominantly due to like that is the same difference as you'll find in most paint ranges, because it's purely based on the colors themselves, not on the paint. It's not like Vallejo does not generally have the same problem that like Games Workshop used to have very commonly. It still does have to the same extent, where like you go grab one paint and you go grab another paint, and they have wildly different consistencies inside the pot, and their opacity. Even if you grab two whites from Games Workshop, one will cover perfectly fine, one won't cover after 15 coats. Vallejo does not generally have that, so I treat that as the golden standard, and kind of like that's my recommendation for most people as far as like the bulk of your paints you might want to purchase Vallejo paints, unless you start using another brand and you specifically like that brand and want to like buy their whole range. Then that's a little bit different. The other thing that's nice with Vallejo paints is they're one of the cheapest paints on the market per ounce, especially when you get them in value packs. Yeah, the bottle. This one is Hull Red. That's one of my favorite Vallejo paints. It's the model color line. Specifically, they have some sub-series that are like the Panzer series, where it's just like this one is more like it's part of a series they developed focusing on World War II-ish colors. Like I've got another one right there that's US olive drab. So Vallejo model color is the primary line for that. The other line that they have that's worth noting about in their standard colors is Vallejo game color. These are basically model color paints, but they tend to be colors that you wouldn't find. Like the model color line is a very real world with a heavy focus on like military and diorama paints. So like they have tons and tons and tons of earth tones of like standard, like a Prussian blue or a deep violet or things like that. All those kinds of things. The model color line has a huge line for those sorts of colors, but you'll almost never in the model color line find like a hot pink or a neon green or like a blood crimson that you might want for wargaming miniatures for fantasy and sci-fi stuff. So the game color range is essentially their model color paints, but with a range of colors that is less found in real life and far more often found in fantasy. Some of the game color paints, in my experience, also tend to be a little bit thinner, like they're slightly pre-thinned for use on miniatures as opposed to for use on like scale models and things like that. The other thing that's nice with the Vallejo model color is all of their paints do work great through the airbrush if you thin them down correctly. So that's my endorsement for Vallejo. Let's see. They shadow, wash, and dry brush fairly well without too much bleeding out. Yeah, pretty much. They are still made the same way that Citadel paints are, with regards to like every color is predominantly going to be a mixture of pigments. They're not monopigment. So if you start mixing them together, you might start getting them kind of going towards gray. But for the most part, yeah, they're pretty excellent paints. And they are, I would say they're also kind of an industry standard. Like more professional painters in the world probably use Vallejo paints than any other paint line. Not saying that they don't use any other paint lines, just like if you took all of the paints in all of the arsenals of every like professional painter in the world, by volume it would probably be Vallejo paints. That is somewhat changing now as other companies come out with other standard paint lines that are rivaling them for what certain people want, but it's a good middle ground. Another thing to know with Vallejo also really quick is they have another line of paints. The best metallics they make, we get one that doesn't have the label colored. This is a different line. Like they, in their model color line and in their game color line, they do have model color metallics and game color metallics. The Vallejo metal color line specifically is a completely different formulation of, this is not the same kind of paint that they have in the model color line, the metallics. This stuff is crazy high quality. For my money, best metallic acrylic paints on the market. They are water thin, but their coverage is crazy. So they don't clog detail, but like these are some of the guys that I did on my last painting stream. Like the metal on these was the gunmetal gray, one single coat, a very thin coat, put directly over top of this green color that I had them all done as. I don't know how well that's going to actually come out looking for you on that, but the metallic pigment on the inside of them also is extremely fine. So you almost never get that, like with Army Painter and with Citadel. Sometimes the metallic flake is so large you can actually see the individual metallic pigments, and you get like a disco ball effect. You don't get that with the Vallejo metal color. If I actually like shake it up a little bit and hold it down this way, pop it open, see what it looks like on the inside. Yeah, if I put this on my finger, you might be able to get an idea. Like, it just looks like metallic, straight up. It flows like crazy. It covers like crazy. One teeny little drop, if I could get it to actually move all over, could probably cover like pretty much the entire top of my finger. Very, very good stuff. Gunmetal, aged bronze, gold, cast iron, and a steel. Cast iron and aged bronze aren't ones from the Vallejo metal color range, but you might have actually had had ones that were named something else and given it to her. But anyways, outside of that, other paints worth looking into. Scale 75 is a common one that's recommended, but I don't recommend it for a new painter. If they are experienced with other kinds of painting, they might be able to kind of make use out of it. But Scale Color's got this gel-based medium that they perform differently than most other paints do. So if you learn your skill set on learning something like Vallejo or Citadel or something similar, and you try to move to scale 75, it might be a little bit awkward because you got to kind of switch around the way that you paint with them. The other higher quality paints that I do like, that I use quite commonly, that do behave quite a lot like the Vallejo and Citadel and similar things, but are of a higher quality, are higher quality after a fashion. Let me get one that's not smeared with paint. Are the Chimera colors. They're kind of hard to get a hold of because they're so popular, and so they run out all the time. Their main paint line, the Pure Pigment Acrylics, is one of the sets that they have. These are very nice for people who are like art students or people that already have experience with painting and paint mixing, because these are monopigment. They have one single pigment in it, meaning when you mix them, they mix exactly like a theoretical paint should mix, as opposed to like when you deal with Citadel or even with Vallejo and things like that. If you mix several colors together, often they will have different colored pigments in them, and some of those pigments will cancel each other out and just start turning it into like a gray or brown muddy mess instead of the vibrant mixed color that you think it's going to get you. That doesn't happen with Chimera colors because they only have one pigment in them. So you're only ever mixing a pure orange with a pure green or a pure yellow or a pure phthalo blue or something similar. So for anybody that's coming to miniature painting that's got experience with like oil painting, say, or took like some acrylic art classes, the Chimera colors are wonderful for that purpose. And they are also, per ounce, the Chimera colors are actually like even cheaper than Vallejo because they come in bottles that are effectively almost twice the size or twice the volume of Vallejo or Citadel paints. They do dry very, very matte, but the nice thing with the Chimera paints is their core set also comes with a satin medium, so you can mix a little bit of satin into the paints, and it makes them a little bit less matte. Yeah, exactly. More like if you were doing canvas and oil. Explains why trying to mix white with gray didn't give me light gray earlier today. Yeah, exactly. That happens to me all the time when I'm doing things like this, where I'll just be like, oh, let me just add a little bit of I've got some off-white here, I'll mix that in, and all of a sudden it goes from like a red, like I'll be taking a green and intending to mix in an off-white, and it just turns to gray. I was just trying to get a slightly lighter and slightly warmer green, but no, I now have a muddy gray, and nope, that doesn't work. So yeah, if you're going for like a premium paint line sort of thing, Chimera is one of the ones I recommend, but like I said, they're in very high demand and very low supply, so they're very difficult to get a hold of right now. Also note, if you look at those paints, they have other sets, like these signature paint sets from Daniel Cartacci and Michael Pizarski, I think is the other one. These signature sets are not monopigment. And they don't have the pigments listed on them. So they don't mix the same way, but they are the same kind of paint. So they are formulated equally high quality and have the same finish. They're very wonderful. But the idea behind those is that they're there so you don't have to mix those kinds of commonly used shades out of the pure pigment set. Oops, sorry about that. But yeah, that would be like if you're looking to just get them a whole set. Um, oh yeah, that's not a bad idea. If you're in the United States, there are several different people that distribute Chimera. Also, I think like Scale 75. I right on that? The Scale 75 distribute Chimera paints in America? But either way, like they're to the point in some cases, there's been times where it's like they have only ever sold their paints in Kickstarter campaigns because they'll basically just do a Kickstarter campaign and use that as a platform to do a massive pre-order, and then they spend the next like year formulating that much paint and sending it out to all those people, and then they have no more paint left after that. Even through that whole process they had no paint because they were saving it to send to those people, and then after that process they now have zero paint still, and then they just start the next Kickstarter for another new miniature or another new line of paints, and they also take all the pre-orders right then for all their standard paints. So they may have it right now, but I'm not entirely sure. If you wanted some very nice metallics, also I just remembered this. If you want a very nice gold, the Vallejo metal color does not have a very good quality gold, in my opinion. It's still as good as the rest of the paints as far as like the water thin, high opacity, but it's a very green gold. It's not a very rich, lustrous gold. Green Stuff World makes these pure metal pigments for golds as well as other things. I think they've got a silver and a copper also, but it is a pigment. Like literally, it's just the powder. When I pop this open, I haven't even opened this one yet. If I pop this open, it's literally just the dry pigment on the inside. You mix this with a medium, and you make your own paint. But the golds that these make are just primo. I love them so much. There's several different ones. I've got the antique gold and then a warm gold as well, and I use that for most of my gold mixing at this point. Other paint lines I'm aware of that I haven't tried is the Monument Hobbies paints. I think that's Pro Acryl, right? Monument Hobbies Pro Acryl. I've heard very good things about the Monument Hobbies Pro Acryl. I've also heard very, very good things about AK Interactive's 3rd Gen Acrylics. From what I've heard talking to people, they're kind of just like they are the both the Pro Acryl and the AK Interactive 3rd generation are essentially like you could equate them to Chimera or not Chimera to Vallejo paints, but in some cases slightly better in some ways. Like I was saying, often Vallejo's metal color doesn't have like super vibrant colors because they're meant more for like World War II and diorama models and things like that. But the AK Interactive and the Monument paints both, I hear, have extremely oh, hey. Man, how many of these are you going to give out tonight, Night Owl? Thank you. It's nice to have somebody that just enjoys giving stuff like that, both to a good cause and also just to other people. But anyways, yeah, the Monument Hobbies and the Pro Acryl, both of them, like I've seen some of their reds and they are good quality reds. I've seen some of their greens and they are good quality greens as far as like the saturation and whatnot. So that would be something else to look into as well. If you wanted a standard paint set for that's just kind of like the middle ground sort of thing, Vallejo is where I go to. And then I've also heard Monument Hobbies and AK Interactive. Monument Hobbies Pro Acryl, AK Interactive 3rd Gen, all good like base paint lines for people getting into painting. Higher quality stuff, like I said, Scale 75 is there. They are weird to work with, and it takes there's a learning curve to them for most people. So not necessarily the best thing to do if you're wanting to give somebody like a standard paint set for them to just run with. And then Chimera is usually the thing that I point people to because, yeah, they just seem like they're just kind of good all around. Like I was saying, very matte, mono pigment, good coverage. They're fun to work with. I really enjoy working with them. So both One and resin prints. So you'll still want to prime, like whenever you do any sort of thing painting wise, no matter what the line is that you're using, you should be priming them. And then whatever you prime it with, everything should stick to that afterwards. So that shouldn't be too big of a deal. Um, so, uh, since I'm colorblind, need mostly monochromatic paints, I'm hoping that I'm getting off kind of cheap. I have a feeling that this is not the case since white isn't just white. Well, my friend, let me tell you about white. This right here is my go-to for white. You may wish to look into getting some yourself. Primacryl is the brand, or Schminke is the brand. I think Primacryl is the line that they have. But this titanium white is, well, it probably has titanium in it. Honestly, I should probably look at that. Dispose of, empty only. May produce an allergic reaction. Well, no shit, it's paint. Pigment PW6. Store frost free, made in Germany. Yeah, this might have actual titanium in it. I don't really know. I'll have to look at that at some point, but it's a pure white. And it's when it comes out, it's like a thick toothpaste. Like you can probably see, it's like you can squeeze out an entire like log of it. And because of it being so thick, you always thin it down, and because of that, you don't use very much of it at a time. So this will, yeah, that's it. That's the, I think, let me check just to make sure. 60 mil titanium white. Acrylic paint, 60 mil titanium white. That looks like it's probably the correct one. Yeah, I'm only seeing the swatches and everything, but that all reads correctly at least. And what I do when I'm screwing with it is yeah, please do not lick your brush when you're using anything that has the name of a heavy metal on it, including cadmium and titanium and things like that. How do I thin it? I learned this from a man on YouTube named Juan Hidalgo. Very fun guy to watch on YouTube. Ink. Acrylic artist ink. You thin your white with a white. Yeah, these inks, that's why I call this Inksomnia, is I actually, oops, sorry, I keep on, microphone's right in the way. I use tons and tons and tons of acrylic artists inks in my painting. I just haven't been doing it for the Mordheim minis because I've got this other recipe going on. But acrylic artists inks, if you haven't used them, are just extremely thin. We're talking water thin. These have like little like eyedroppers are what you use to get them out. So when you look at how thin it is, I don't know. Yeah, it's not going to come up. But anyways, water thin, but extremely opaque. So when you're, instead of using water or something like a medium to thin down this to get it to a painting level, you take the two extreme ends of the spectrum and you thin your super thick with your water thin, but this has extremely opaque white in it already, so you don't generally lose any of your opacity. If anything, you might, well, I guess you probably wouldn't be increasing the opacity, but yeah, that's my go-to. Let me get that purple put back up there because I actually use that one. Sorry, I keep on bumping everything. That area is not an area I normally reach my hands up to, so I've got a bunch of stuff in that area. Okay, so now that I've given that a while to cure, I like the way that red looks, actually. What do you think, Countess? Was I still wrong on the on the red? Let me finish up with the highlighting of the areas where I accidentally got the red earlier. Get that back to being that glacier blue off-white. Oh, got this whole area over here on the side I gotta hit too. Oops. Gonna take a couple of coats actually. That side part's going to be a little bit irritating to take care of, actually. Oh, well. Oh, this... Oh, sorry. For some reason, my chat thing stopped following. Tastes like happiness. Reminds me of the tasty paint chips. Ugh. Yes, yes, those lovely tasty paint chips. Inkception. Yes, yes, it is Inkception after a fashion. It is not like alcohol inks. The acrylic artist's inks behave quite a lot differently. Yes, they are thin in the same way, but the alcohol inks dry like super fast, crazy, crazy fast, and generally don't have the same level of opacity depending on the colors in question. These are something that you could use in, like, they've got little diagram things on the side. You can use them in the airbrush. You can use them in like 8 different kinds of pens. You can use them with a brush. Good stuff. Rainy River paints. I haven't actually checked those out before. I'll have to take a look at those. Haven't placed my Scotch collection since the hurricane. Did you lose it all in the hurricane? If so, sorry. House destroyed in the hurricane. Lots of little things worked out. Among them, my BattleTech Kickstarter didn't ship until after I was able to get an address I could have it shipped to. Well, at least that's good. Small mercies. Shaking like a Michael J. Fox, yeah. That was always the running gag. My dad was a race car driver for quite a few years, and he got in quite a few really bad wrecks and smacked his head a couple of times, and eventually he quit after the doctor told him, one more bad wreck like that and you're going to wind up like Muhammad Ali. You'll be able to hide your own Easter eggs. No, we know where it is. Yeah, it happens. You like it. Vote make her dirty, though. Well, she's already dirty. She's a tavern wench. Or barmaid. I don't know which she was really supposed to be, but whichever. Rainy River Designs. Let's see what these look like. Oh, those look cute. I'll have to take a look at those. Thank you, Cookie. Amore by Stefan. When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, it's amore. Bam, bam, dig it again. Get another layer down. This is going to be... Sorry, I'm not really doing much with this right now. I didn't really realize when it happened how hard it was going to be to cover up all those red splotches. Now I know to be a little more careful when I'm using the Glacier Blue, because it's not particularly opaque. It's going to take me quite a few layers just to get something vaguely back to the color that it was at before and cover up all the red, so it doesn't look like it's just pink being colored on top of by the soft tone. Okay, I think we're getting close finally to it. It's a bit much, but it'll be fine from that angle. Oh, there's a whole area down there that I missed it. It'll be fine. It's just one of many zombies. Great, now I'm going to have That's Amore stuck in my head all night. God damn it. I'm actually going to go a little bit darker. I'm going to take some of this gray that's sitting here from... Was this from last week? Oh, holy shit. Just got to do that to cover up that... those areas with the pinkish red at this point, and then go over that with the Glacier Blue. And that should fix my issue. Yeah, those look really cool. Okay, that's going on quite a lot better. I've got that pretty much covered up at this point. Ah, ha, ha, ha. Welcome back, Moskai. Haven't seen you in a little bit. Oh, we are now higher ground. Yeah, see, that's the lesson that I never see anybody in a hurricane learn. I've never understood that. You always see that happen. A hurricane comes through, and I don't mean to make light of actual real world struggles and tragedies and things like that, but that is the thing that it's like that's a condition I feel that's an interesting element of the human experience that we are so stubborn and set in our ways that we would rather deal with regular random acts of God just absolutely destroying our societies than to displace after we've had that happen. Hurricane comes through, tears down the entire city. Well, we'll just build it right back up exactly where it was. Okay, replacing all those highlights that I just deleted with that gray paint. That's working all right. Okay. We'll have to have her follow WPPL and gift her fiance a pair of subs. Yeah, not a bad idea. Let them know about it. Parallax does a phenomenal painting channel during the day or evening times, and I like taking over the late night. Yeah, that is a good point. That's very much a modern problem. Okay, I think that's probably okay on the highlighting, so I'm going to go back to where I meant to be a while ago, taking some soft tone, Army Painter soft tone, and spreading that all around this apron that I've now highlighted in the hopes of making it look dingy, used, worn, and weathered and stained. Not being too careful about my application of it because if a little bit of it gets on the guts or on the red, you will probably practically not see it at all. sure to get on all the cracks and crevices. Hit every little surface. Might have to do a couple of coats of this before it actually kind of gives me the effect I'm looking for, but you know what? That ain't so bad right off the bat. Sliver cry, yep. Yeah, good at suddenly changing direction and good at going faster than you can with a trailer attached to your truck. Okay, I must apologize. I actually need to use the restroom momentarily. I will be right back. Should take me 30 seconds or less. Be good while I'm gone. Okay, I return. What did I miss, friends? Ah, welcome back, German. Thank you for the. I'm gonna take that as a compliment, Beer Skate. No, that's not a compliment. That's just commentary. No, that was the toilet flushing, trust me. I was several rooms away with the door shut when I was using the restroom, and then I flushed the toilet and opened the door very shortly afterwards. Well, good morning, German. Yeah, I guess I hadn't really thought about that. It's approaching 11 o'clock here, so yeah. I don't care about gays here. They just gave. Yep, I just saw a video today about um, how Louisianans deal with gators, and it involved the cast iron pan. Yeah, 3:48 p.m. here because it's upside down where you're at. The water jet stream. Yeah, we'll get the water jet stream when we also do the when we do the beach party. We'll have a beach episode of the WBPL 76, and then you'll get a water jet stream. I don't have Texas voice, but it's easy to listen to, easier than mine. Well, thank you for that. I don't like the way that my voice sounds recorded. I know that most people don't. The big thing that really irritates me is the my lisp comes through a lot harder in recordings um, than it does like to me when I'm listening to it, and also just like people that have listened to me in real life have said the same thing. Just because That's a common thing. There's a reason why there are de-essers for post effects, but not quite so common for inline stuff, especially not through OBS. Yeah, I don't think there's anybody else in the BPL that has a voice quite approaching Tex's, but as Tex has said, his voice is damaged, and it's difficult to get to that point if you're not a natural baritone. Cast iron pan really is good for everything. Yes, no, absolutely. There's a reason why I keep several around. Great utility items. You know, I had the opportunity to have Gator, but I couldn't get to it before it was entirely gone. I was doing something for a local Rotary club where I was playing in the bagpipe. I was playing in a local bagpipe band at the time, and we would play at the Rotary club to pipe in the pig when they brought it out of the kitchen. But the because we're the pipers, we have to play all several different places throughout and times throughout the time that everybody's getting the food. So by the time that we got to get to the food, everybody else was already going through for seconds, and all that Gator was gone on the first time around. Yeah, the candle's good camera quality. Oh, thank you. I took quite a while trying to work out exactly how to get I still think I've got quite a lot of room for improvement, but I really made sure that I could get the best camera settings that I could out of the cheapo hardware that I've got, and that was essentially what I was going for. I wanted something that was a little lower energy for the most part, a little bit quieter, a little more calming and sedate than most of the other things you might find on Twitch, short of ASMR. And I like candles, so time zones are fine, especially for meetings. I do have a lisp. It's not really awful, and it's not one of those. It's not like the back of the mouth, like really speedy. It's not that "hey guy" sort of thing. I don't know exactly how or why it developed, but I noticed the reason for it is when I form S's, I put my tongue against my front teeth, but then I open like one side of it. So it's almost like I'm saying S's always come out of like the corner of my mouth, as opposed to when I went and looked it up, it's like to make an S, apparently you're supposed to put your tongue directly at your front teeth and then lift straight forward. It's kind of weird, but anyways, yeah, it's just one of those. If I actually pointed out the lisp that I have, the S's are just always very pronounced. It's hard for me to actually get short clipped S's no matter what I do. It may not come through as a lisp, but when I listen to the recordings of myself, my S's always just sound extremely tinny, more so than most other people's. It might just be something because I've been actually paying attention to audio elements recently because I'm trying to do a tutorial video series for my work for training purposes. So I've been trying to learn more about audio video editing. I do not play the bagpipes, Countess. I play drums, various different forms of drums, all kinds of stuff. When I was in high school, but once I got out of high school, I had a friend who I played with in high school who fell in with the bagpipe band. That most all bagpipe bands use drummers, 3 different types. You got the bass drum, the tenor drum, and the snare drum. Snare drum is the really snappy pop one. The bass drum's the big boomy one. Usually there's only one in a band. Tenor drums are the ones that make like the bong bong sounds. And when you watch the bagpipe bands, the tenors are the ones that have the little pom pom beater things, and they'll hit the drum, and then they like the hand that's not actively hitting the drum will do like flippy tricks and things like that because it's attached to their hands at the wrist with a little like elastic band thing. But I did the snare because that's what I was predominantly did when I was in drum corps and things in high school. So after a while of playing with the local bagpipe band, they brought in a guy. One of the members brought in a guy who became my drum tutor, and I became more involved with him than with the actual local band at one point because I really wanted to get into competition drumming. There is at the Highland Games circuit up and down the West Coast. There's all of the Highland Games typically have music competitions as well, band competitions, as well as group and solo piping, and solo piping for marches, and also solo piping for pibroch and similar things. But they also have solo drumming for, I believe they do tenor drumming also in some cases, but predominantly solo snare drumming, where it's you playing along with one or two bagpipers solo, and you get judged by not only how well you play what you're playing, like technically, but also on you compose your own snare music. So you get judged on both your composition and your execution. I haven't done it in quite a few years. We had a falling out because I had to take a job on the coast, and I couldn't meet up with them, and there was some miscommunication about whether or not I would be playing with them at one of the Highland Games. I'd like to go back at some point, but it's just I basically replaced that as a hobby with the miniature painting, and so if I wanted to do that, I'd need to essentially drop this and start practicing drumming again, probably 2 to 3 hours a day for every day for several weeks to months before I would even have my chops back to start attempting what I was playing at the time. Let's see here. As long as we're here, I'm starting to collect supplies to begin painting my Eldar Crusaders. Any advice with brushes? So for brushes, synthetics are it's always a good idea to have many synthetics on hand, because synthetics are very cheap, and you can always you don't have to feel bad about ruining them because they're as cheap as they are. There is one product in particular. This might fuck up my camera a little bit because I've got it clipped to it right now. Let me undo the wire clip. This right here, my friends and I affectionately refer to this as the bucket. If you go on Amazon or somewhere similar, Royal and Langnickel is the company. Golden Taklon round brushes. I want to say this was like $25 or $30 or something like that. There's 144 brushes in it. They're all the same style. They're just different sizes. So they're perfect for just having a bunch of these sorts of things on hand. That way you don't have to keep on running back and forth to Michael's or Hobby Lobby or whatever your local store is to keep on getting more brushes when you run out. As far as fancy ones goes, there's 4 brands, I think, that are kind of the most widely used ones as far as fancy things go. I generally recommend go one set of 3 or 4 fancy brushes, and then just a pile of synthetics. That way you can use your fancy brushes for detail work, synthetics for bitch work, essentially washes or enamel paints or whatever. So for the fancy brushes, which are probably the ones that you would actually want to consider, most people, like the most commonly used ones that I have seen are Winsor Newton Series 7. And they're watercolor brushes. They've got many different sizes. The ones that I used, it was simply a matter of not really quite liking the brush feel quite as much. They didn't snap quite as much as I would have liked them to. Aside from that, there's also Rosemary & Co. is a company that makes, they have Kolinsky Sable brushes that are very cheap compared to many other brands. Broken Toad is a very well regarded one within the miniature painting world. These are Broken Toad Fugazi brushes. I got these on a whim when I got their actual their Kolinsky Sable brushes as well. Theirs are about equivalent to the one that I prefer, but the Fugazi ones are just synthetics. I wanted to see how they worked. And then my personal favorite, my go-to is these ones are Raphael brand. The Raphael 8404. 8404 is the line within the Raphael brand that these are from. Again, watercolor brushes, Kolinsky Sable. Hard to get in the United States right now because they're extremely popular, and Kolinsky Sable sales are... There's problems with it. You can look up the details about it, but it's difficult to get Kolinsky Sable through the United States in some cases. So, yeah, those are my recommendations for brushes. Let me go up. Just play 2 more. Yep. Timpani marching bass and marching snare here. Yep. Oh god, yeah. The fucking tinnitus. Holy shit. Minus temperance. That's good. Yeah, I caught myself, thankfully, Yes, I did do the Highland Games in Portland. 1 year, only 1 year. That was, I think, the second to last year before I couldn't keep doing the Highland Games at the time. I I enjoyed it. It was very hot, like uncharacteristically hot, and it was very swampy. So I had a hard time with that. Um, but I had a good time in Portland. Let me tell you, I'd never been to Portland before, and the area that I'm from is kind of a not really a bumfuck nowhere, but just lacking in a lot of different things, in particular in the culture department. So it was nice to go somewhere where it's just like everywhere I turn around, there's fantastic Japanese food. There's wonderful fusion. There's shows going on everywhere, and so on and so forth. It was nice. Oh, good night, Cookie Mama. I know you probably can't hear me anymore, but thank you again for joining the stream. It's always nice to have you watching my back. Yeah, the tuba line, you are correct on that in my experience. The difference it was in our area, or in the bands I was part of, there was always like the tubas were always outnumbered by the drummers by about 4 or 5 to 1. So there would only ever be like 3 tuba players. They were goofballs, but there weren't enough of them to really cause problems. Tuba hot chocolate. Oh god. Yeah. It's been about the same amount of time for me. How are the Fugazis compared to the Sable? Not as good. They are still just synthetic brushes. They both started doing the same thing that. Well, that's not gonna. Same thing most synthetics do, where they started getting the. It's hard to see, I think, for you guys, but the Fugazi Sables eventually started getting the hook tip thing, where the tip of it starts to just kind of crook over time. So I'm not disappointed in them whatsoever, but I was not expecting that to happen out of a synthetic set of brushes that were as expensive as they were. They still work excellent, though. The Leonardi 3.0 and 4.0. Yeah, there you go. Like I said, my daily drivers are Raphael 8404, size 1 and size 0 are my preferred ones. But I haven't tried the Leonardi ones. And this is just a matter of personal preference. I'm not saying this is better or worse in any way than any other kind of brush. They just feel different. I'm going to add a little more of that soft tone and see where that takes this. I can always brighten it back up afterwards if I need to. It's probably gotten decently watered down at this point anyways. But try to get the try to make all the parts that are just kind of gray and maybe hopefully turn them into a bit of a darker brown color. Might happen, might not. Either way, it'll look fine once it's done. Okay, that's probably good on the apron for now. I'm going to carry on with the rest of her. I'm going to pick up where I left off on the skin, which I believe was Magos Purple being the next step. Yep. So the Magos Purple I generally reach for on these ones. Oh, time for bed for you. Yeah, thanks for showing up, Beers King. Don't know if you're here right now, but I hope to see you again sometime, hopefully sooner rather than later. I'll probably be alternating Mondays and Tuesdays. 5:30 does come early. Oh, God, yeah. Don't I know it. Magos Purple is not purple. It is a light purple. It is, when you look at it, it looks like it's going to be, oh, that's going to be a very pretty, like kind of um, like a light purple, almost like a lavender color if I put it on there. But no, it's very, the reason why Parallax was complaining about it at one time, or possibly multiple times, I'm not sure, I haven't seen every one of his streams, is because it is very, very not opaque when you put it on a miniature, and it's very splotchy if you try to do it as the one coat thing. Like, look at that. This is a full brush slapping down thick Magos purple on there, and that is the, I don't know if you can even see that here in this corner. That's the effect it gives. That's how purple it gets. So when you're talking about the amount of pooling it has, not what most people want out of a purple like that. But what it is wonderful for, as I mentioned on several other streams, take some of it, go to all of the areas on a body that would, try this off a little bit, all the areas on a body that would collect blood when rigor mortis sets in. All of the joints, the hands, any of the areas where blood pools naturally in the body. Just go slap that into it. Try to go too overboard with it. Let it do its pooling thing, because it is contrast paint and it is wont to pool. All over the hands. And then up into the face as well, in any places where she's got cuts or gouges or any sort of gory areas where blood would have spilled out. Get that into the eye sockets, into the mouth. Kind of do a little bit under the cheeks. This is my replacement essentially for where you'd be putting red for blush purposes. So around the nose, the lips. A little bit around the temples. Not too much. And then, like I said, find all the spots where she's got little holes in her skin and get... I'll hit the hole and then also spill around the outside of it so that it kind of gives the impression that the skin is also bruised and that blood did raise to the surface in that area. And then after it dries, a bit much on the hand there, but that's okay because I'm going to highlight it later on. But yeah, once it dries, you can kind of see on the hands, get that over, whoops, nope. You can see a bit on her hands and a bit on, as it starts to dry, you'll see where it kind of just like discolors the area more than anything, as opposed to turning it purple. Yeah, no, definitely not purple. I think I'll put a little bit up across the sternum part of her chest. Wasn't that the discussion that we had before about that, Countess? If blood tends to collect across the chest and the sternum area and up towards the throat as part of the blush response. Yeah, take your time. That was a bit much, but that's okay. I'll get it back with the I'll get it back when I get to the highlighting stage. Do it up and around the shoulder. I feel like she's got a necklace on, but I can't see it. Maybe that's just wrinkled skin. There is no necklace around her neck that I can see, so I guess I'll just leave it be. See if I can actually rub some of that off. No? Okay. And while that is curing, I think it's time for me to go for the leathers and whatnot. So, let me just highlight up the highlight up and texture her little belt thing. Ooh, that was close. Same process as I used before. I just lower the brush and then I'm just kind of tapping it. Some pulling to get little scratches, mostly just tapping to add texture. Go on the top, go on the bottom. Too much of a ball of that, I think. Need to drag it out a little more. That's better. Same thing on the front. So she's got some sort of belt buckle thing going on. And then just to add some visual interest, I'm going to select the point where light seems to be bouncing off of this most. And I'm just going to make a little area filled with a bunch of texture as if it's kind of gotten worn there, or the light is showing a little bit more of it than usual. And then same thing here. Just to give the pouch a little extra oomph when I go for the leather. Oh, look at that. There's some red on top that I don't want to be there. Yeah, the chest and the nose flush thing is what I was talking about. Okay, off to bed with you. It's after 1 a.m. Not to be at 5:30. Yep, I totally hear you, man. Go get some sleep. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Hopefully I have helped you reach that point and calmed you down for the evening, or at least aided. But yes, I was just doing the go back to the show me the chat only, please. Whoops. Oh, that'll work at least. Keep on going with that grayish blue. Yeah, I was just talking about the Magos purple. I put some up on the inside of her chest to throat area just to kind of match that, but I splotched a little more than I wanted to, so I'll go back and clean that up later on when I'm in the highlighting step. Just like I said before, all I'm doing here is just adding texture before I use transparent paints to get the color on. Yeah, I guess. I don't know, you tell me. I don't know if that'll even show up really, but yeah, she's got a nice heavy amount of blush going on up in that area across the chest. Well, if we're going for it, might as well go full bore. Let me do a little bit in the nose also. There we go. Blood pooling right across the nose. Bridge of the nose. Yeah, no worries. I can always send pictures at some point later on. So that's probably good on that texturing. I still have no idea what this is supposed to be right here. The thing that's dangling off of her belt. I thought it might have been like a necklace or a rosary or something like that, but I don't know. I do see a patch in between it that needs to have some soft tone added though, because that's supposed to be apron. There we go. Oh, and a patch I missed over here. There, better. Yeah, I can. Wait, right now? No, I don't think that's a spoon. I can hit the focus to make it focus on it better when I have it higher. Let's see. There you go. So you see that thing that's dangling from her apron to the side of her guts, but before the other little ripped part of the apron? I have no idea what that's supposed to be. Like I said, to me it looks like a string of rosary or beads or something like that, but I'm not entirely sure. So, whoops, too far. Anyways, I think I might just paint it like it's. Well, I could give it a. I could just give her a pearl necklace. Just say that's what it is. Okay, is that zoomed in about right for the focus? I think that's about the right focus. So, anyways, yeah, let me hit her belt now. I'm gonna go my personal favorite contrast paint for leather. Sorry, I keep on bumping the thing and shaking the camera around, but Fire Slayer Flesh I do not use for flesh purposes. I use for leather purposes. For those times when you need that special leather. Yeah, Fire Slayer Flesh, when you it's got a very nice orangey brown tone to it. So it makes a very nice kind of like worn but still kind of somewhat supple as if it's not like it makes it look like something that was a brown leather that's been worn very commonly but not like left out to dry in the open sun or something like that. So with these zombies assumedly being recently dead, I think that's about appropriate. Get all the way up inside there. Takes a couple of coats of it though. At first it just looks kind of, just very orangey, like almost a pinkish orange. Like a salmon brown, salmon orange color, but after a couple of coats that changes very quickly. They're getting there. Okay. Give that another coat. Now it's getting about to where I want it to be. Sorry if that's coming through. I'm blowing on the thing to try and get the contrast paint to dry quicker, but I just realized I might be blowing directly onto the microphone. Okay, there you go. See how that's got that lovely... It's turned the darker gray areas into kind of almost like a dark brown, but then it keeps that orangish brown ochre kind of color to the worn out areas, so it comes off looking very much like a brown leather. I like it. a spoon for, or get a photo for Countess. One and okay. So what do I go to next on this? Gonna hit her hair. What color hair do you think that zombie needs to have? Fiery red, maybe? Or like something that once was fiery red. Get that light back over. More contrast. Are you asking if this is more like if I've used contrast paint on it, or are you saying something about like I need to add more? Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, yeah, I can do a blonde like that. Let's see. Where can I go for? Uh, if I were gonna do that, it would actually be nice to do something that's like almost a platinum blonde that got So if I did, let's see here. Trying to think of an easy way to do a blonde. I haven't tried the speed paint yellow yet. I'm curious about that zealot yellow. Let's see how that does. I know blonde is not yellow, but that's not the only thing I'm gonna do here. Dark brown over a dirty black. I think I'm gonna wind up with almost everybody in my thing, including the vampire, having black or brown. Yeah. Let's see what this does. I've done the blonde thing before by just... What did I do on Rayloff? Did I just do the skin tone on his? I might have. Let me get that mini out here really quick. Oh, I didn't do anything on him. There was another guy. Yeah, I think it was this guy. I think it was just Wraithbone, actually. I just did some ivory and then didn't even bother. Yeah, this guy, I think it was like I didn't even bother doing the shading on his, which shame on me. I had to do that before I called that mini finished. But maybe if I just did that and then did like some soft tone. What's the name? Are you talking about the name of the zombie girl that I'm working on right now, or are you talking about the Elder Scrolls dude that I just held up to the camera? Yeah, that's what I was looking at. It's like it looks. It's not a ring. It's something that is. It's hanging from a rope thing and it's tied to itself. So I was like, is that a rosary? Is that a pearl necklace? The zombie girl. Okay, she is. I don't think she actually has a name. She's from the company that makes her is Heresy Labs. They do quite a few minis. Their mainline stuff that they're kind of known for at this point is they do their old world miniatures is a line that they made pretty much like intended for people to use from Mordheim, and so they have several different Kickstarters. The most recent Kickstarter that they did, I think, for that line was Citizens of the Old World with Witchfire and Sword, I believe, was what it was called. And it had a Bretonian warband, and it had an undead warband, and this is one of the minis from the undead warband. I've been kind of painting them one by one on stream. So like the other ones that are in the same line are like the cat lady that has her cats are now zombies and hanging on to her, one on the back, one in her robes that are eating her now that she's dead. The other one that I did that I jokingly have styled after myself is the Butcher. So I gave him denim pants, and I'm doing a red plaid shirt to match the red plaid shirt that I wear all the damn time. A bunch of different zombies in that same line. There's a Sister of Sigmar, there's a Town Crier, there's an Imperial looking soldier, there's an Executioner, there's a Jester, a whole bunch of little things like that. The beaded chain of the Viking will wear? I don't know. Maybe. So we gotta see what this yellow does really quick, just because I'm curious. Do a little bit of that on the base. That's a little too orange to be a blonde color. So, good to know. I'm not going to use it for this purpose. Pallid Bone and Sand Golem, though. Sigma balls! Yeah. Sug my dick? Yeah, I know. I know how that goes. I've seen the Gianni memes. Okay, Sand Golem, I think, was a pretty brown one last time I tried it. Very yellow brown. I still don't like that. Too orangey for a dirty blonde. But Pallid Bone, maybe. Didirian. Good morning, Didirian. How's your day gone so far? You must be European. Unless you're American and you're just greeting me because it's like 4 in the morning where you're at. Okay, skeleton is basically the soft tone. So I might try putting that over the Wraith Bone and see how that goes. Sorry, I'm just kind of looking at how the contrast paints or the Army Painter speed paints kind of look. The ones I haven't tried yet. So I think I'm going to, if I'm going to do it as the dirty blonde sort of thing, like the platinum blonde that was later dirtyified in the solidification process. Gonna lose a lot of definition if I do this. I might try, let me try it that way. I'm gonna try putting this Pallid Bone down to discolor the hair that I've got on her right now that is already dry brushed and essentially pre-shaded. And then after that point, I'm going to see about dry brushing again over the top of it to with some Wraith Bone to kind of lighten it up and making it look much more platinum brown. So this is Pallid Bone from Army Painter's Speed Paint line. Gotta get that whole bun, the whole ass bun. That actually is a very nice looking blonde. As it is. Maybe I will just kind of leave it at that for the time being. I mean, it's not bad, not great, but the point of what I'm trying to do with these Mordheim minis is get them all like tabletop quality, and then as the campaign goes on, pick and choose what I want to do with them. As far as like if they gain injuries and things like that, I might, or something similar, which I guess zombies are not heroes, so they won't gain unique injuries. They'll just be injured or dead. But that came out. I like that. Surprisingly. Huh. Well, I'll have to keep that one in mind. Is it a sling? I mean, maybe? I don't think so. Like, if it's the kind of sling I'm thinking of, it would have like a cup part to hold something into, and I'm not seeing anything like that, but oh, maybe. But yeah, man, that hair. Let me. Looks like my focus is off a little bit. I'm going to click it to go a little bit closer to the camera and see how this looks comparatively. Still too high for the hair when I hold it straight up and down, but I'm not going to be holding it straight up and down. I'm going to hold it like this. So let me click the exposure up so you can kind of see a better view of the. Whoa. Is that right? Yeah, -7. So this I think is about where the focus is at. So here is. There's what the hair looks like. Nope, that's a little too blown out. Exposure needs to stay at 7 or at -8. Can be the line just split in two? What line do you mean? Okay, so now while I got that there, I'll let that hair dry completely. That's a nice dirty blonde. I like that. I am not mad at that at all. Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah, maybe. They're just splitting two strands in the middle that held the ball. Yeah, that could be, I suppose. I never actually. I let me. I'm curious about that. Let me see what the non. Let me look at what the non zombified version of her looks like because I'm curious now. Oh god, that's awful but wonderful. So I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not, but this is what the. Apparently, she's not old, but she does look a little crazy as far as the crazy cat lady goes. This is the what the cat lady that I painted is supposed to look like before she's a zombie. I like the little lynx cat, but yeah, apparently she's. That's a very Monty Python feel. That said, is a dead parrot. Let's see here. There's the town crier. Well, there's no painted version of her. Well, there's no description stating what she's supposed to be holding, but this is the version of her that that's the version that doesn't have zombification. So like that's the little bead thing. It's something tied to her hip with beads, and I still don't really get it. But whatever it is, they're going to be colored something pearly, metallic, or something like that. Anyways, let's get that phone out of the way so I don't give away personal information or something like that. for myself or anybody else. In the meantime, let's go back to that skin, eh? I'm going on to the next step, which is Carolberg Crimson. I'm just going to dot that into the areas where there's wounds, just to make them look a little bit more muchy. It's got those ones right there. This is all pretty much black already anyways, but might as well just hit it. I think that's really it. She doesn't have that many gouges or wounds on her compared to some of the other ones. I will do this in the mouth. In and around the mouth. And definitely into her eye socket where she's got her eye dangling out. And onto the little eye stalk. That one's going to be fun to paint detail on that. Yeah, some prayer bead thingies. I don't, like I said, I don't know what use barmaid would have for those. If she's supposed to be a barmaid, maybe she's a barmaid. Whatever that thing is that's in her hair, I think I'm gonna paint metallic. And then there's also her knife. I'm assuming that the knife is gonna, looks like it's got a wooden handle. So let me go with some. Let's see how the dark wood is from the Army Painter line. Not that I'm going to be able to get a great example from this, but still. And by that I just meant that the this section of the handle is just going to be too small for me to really get a grip on how this speed paint works. Let me actually just tiny drop. There we go. Yeah, all I can really get from this is I can just look at it and say, yep, that's a brown. Does its job though. And I don't think there's anything else on her to paint that color, so I'm just going to leave it be. Part-time barmaid, part-time sister Sigmar. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to just guess that that's just a little detail they added on for funsies. Or, I mean, they probably, knowing the way that Heresy Lab works, they probably actually know exactly what that is and put that on there intentionally. But you get what I'm saying. It's just something there to add character. It's not like it's a an integral part of the character or anything like, or of the miniature or whatever. So let's see. Her feet are fine, her hands, her face and everything are fine. I'm not going to focus on the detail of the eyeball this time around, I don't think. I think I will do the highlighting on the skin right now, though. So time to mix up that wonderful combo. Usually do the same thing Vince does. Whatever my highlight color is, I will take that, take a little bit of that, put it somewhere else on my palette, and then mix in some, just mix in a little bit of the Athonian camo shade to kind of kill it down, which this is a blue, like a blue-gray, so it's mostly just going to take that and give it a bit more of an unlife, I suppose. Oh god, I keep forgetting I need to change this palette paper. It keeps ripping when I go and whenever I go and try to do mixing on it. Oh shit, I forgot that was actually active paint. Let's try that again, shall we? Get that off into a different area of the palette. Shake the shit out of that glacier blue. Just give it a little tappy. Little tap, tap, taparoo. Really won't need much of this, at least not for now. At least I don't think it will. There we go. Let's see how things go with that. Now it's just the normal highlighting routine. Not quite so much. There we go. All right, so we're starting with the hands and the fingers. That probably needs a little more Athonian than what I got on there. That's very light. Yeah. Let's try that again. Mix in a little bit more of the green. And honestly, I may need to add, yeah, let me actually do that, and then a little bit of the Reikland Flesh shade, just because that's what made that base coat in the first place. That might come out a little bit better. Now, how do you look? Still very white. Still a little too light. Yeah. It's okay when it is very thin, so just keep that in mind. I'll have to redo the Reikland and Athonian and whatnot on the other hand, but that is totally fine because that only takes a very short while. This is just to help pick out some of the things that I want noticed more than other things. Let me get the ear over here. Does she have an ear over here? I don't see one. Get that nose. Tip and bridge. A little bit of the bridge at least. Hit the teeth so that they start to brighten up a little bit. Get the chin. Hit the forehead. Cheeks. Just a bit on the chest area. Gotta get that specular highlight, you know? shoulders as well. Oh, sorry, just realized you're not really able to see anything I'm doing, can you? Just gently glaze that in up in the shoulder area. And up and across the back towards the neck. Arms probably fine. A little bit right here, though. Yeah, it's too bright there now. So, going back into the Reichland. Man, I'm doing bad at making it to where it's in the frame for you guys to see, aren't I? Ugh. Okay, Reichland. Going on this hand to kill the excessive amount of glacier blue highlighting I put on there. Then I'll hit it with the Athonian. And then we'll carry on from there. In the meantime, that knife. Honestly, I think I'm going to try non-metallic metal on most of these, just because I've never really bothered with that before. Before that, though, let me go back in and I need to make sure that I get this area here where, get a gray. Get this area in between the lacing on her bodice thing. Hit it with the gray first because I overdid it with the red in that area. That looks like it'll be pretty much okay once it dries. And then after that, I'll highlight up, and then after that, I think I'll do like a leather color there. Was that further up there? It's further up there too, isn't it? Yeah, okay. Let me continue on with that then. I didn't even notice that when I was putting the red on earlier. Thought that was all just part of the that fabric. Easy fix though. Still got a funky patch on her butt where I didn't quite manage to get it all the way. Didn't quite manage to get everything done in time on the bottom part of her dress, but I think I can go over that later with some texturing, with something. Let me actually just, maybe some of this might be in order. A little bit of war colors. They're very, very scarlet color. This might be a bit much, but I'm curious to see. I do know that in the past when I've used this, it's desaturated down very heavily. Or it's like, yeah, desaturated once I have finished, once it's dried off a bit. So I'm going to test it first on the rim of her, on the rim of her blouse section. And see how that comes out once it dries. I think, honestly, that ain't too bad. I might just, yeah, let's just put that on there, make that a little bit more even, hopefully, with a nice glaze. May actually need to glaze the blood orange into that area just to cover up that hole, essentially. But I can glaze this in on many of the edges. Just to add a little extra pop before I inevitably wind up dulling it down. And if anybody is wondering while they're viewing this, this is a Watercolors paint. It is just a Watercolors red. I think it's red 5 or maybe red 1. Red 1, yeah. Because the higher numbers are lower, are like darker colors. But Watercolors is an interesting sort of thing. Similar to the Scale 75, they don't act like normal paints. They've got this kind of gel medium thing going on, and they dry super matte, and they desaturate pretty heavily, but they are wonderful for glazing with because they're pretty transparent. There we go. Yeah, that's working out fine. Adding a little more texture and visual interest to the butt area where I goofed earlier on. I'll start doing the same thing, adding some of that to this hem that she's got up here, just to make sure that pops, as well as all of the areas where I added texture before. Make sure you see all the folds in it. Just leaving the deepest recesses so none of that gets into it. That helps deal with some of the places where the highlights are coming through more as pink than anything. There we go. Blend that out a little bit, and good. That makes that quite a lot more, a bit more of a juicy red. I like it. Can't forget to get this area here. Try to drag some of that into the area where it meets the area with all of the not ropes, string or ties or whatever that is. There we go. I am liking this red the more and more I do it. Still not quite in focus for you guys, though. I think that is the ideal in focus, so I need to move the focus down a bit. Oh, yeah, I had it way too high for when I was looking at it up close. There we go. Just to double check with you guys, how's the volume and everything? Volume, focus of the camera, and whatnot. Volume, sound, and any other settings like that. Am I still doing good? Let's see. Okay, good. Well, that hand looks much, much better now that it's had that Reichland flesh shade go onto it. I actually think that the highlighting is fine where it is. No, I'll add a little bit more of that just because I just noticed the other parts are so much more desaturated now. But before I do that, let me do a little, do a tiny amount of Magos Purple selectively applied into the cracks of the hand, not covering the entire thing because I don't want to undo what I just did. But just kind of do that, there, here. Still covering some of it, but not a ton. Some of the highlighting, I mean, between the fingers and whatnot. Okay. Okay, where else do I go from here? I still need to deal with that bead thing, still need to deal with the knife. I need to do the, yeah, let me do that right now. I will add the ivory, the wreath bone. Actually, no, I got the golden. I'll use some Titan buff to color the eyeballs, and I'll also use that on whatever that string is because it's a nice warm tone, which is appropriate for stringy, ropey stuff. So, tiny little dot. There we go. Small as I can get it. All right, eyeball first. There's the main eyeball, and now the droopy one. There we go. And then let me get them chompers. I assume this is teeth and not just gums. There we go. Hit the tips of the fingernails as if she's still got fingernails or claws. Maybe I'll paint those. Like give her crimson fingernails to match her dress. That would actually be kind of funny. Let's do the same thing on her right hand. Oh, well, her right hand is gripped around that thing, so you can't see the fingernails anyways. So I'll call that good. Okay, where did I put... for the eyes, I think, there we go. Yeah, Aethermatic blue. I forgot to do that on the other two, but might as well hit it here. I take their eyes once I've got the ivory on it and add a little glaze of Aethermatic blue to it because I saw Game of Thrones and I am original. I think it's Aethermatic. It might be Talisar. It's been a while since I did the zombie eyes. Let's see. No, it's Aethermatic, I think. Yep, it's a very subtle effect. It doesn't wind up looking like blue, but just like when you get a close look at it, then you're like, oh, hey, look at that, frosty eye. We'll do the same thing here. And then just do the effects and everything on it later on. Okay, we can go focus back on the strings between the chest. So now that I got that gray on there, gonna move to doing the highlights again. That I'm basically messed up in doing so. So get that cross on there, definitely. The same thing up here. I think there's a little bit where it's like there's a cross of it, but I'm not entirely sure, honestly. So I'm just going to, oh no, got a little on the red, that's fine. Just going to treat this area to the sides of the lace like it's leather, I think. Okay. Do I want to do black leather though? No, let's just do leather. So I'll do the same Fire Slayer flesh that I was doing earlier. Nope, that. Oh, I didn't even put any out there because it's in a contrast paint. Time for sleep or I think I'll pick sleep. Not a bad idea, Morgan. You have a good rest of your night. Get some good rest if you can. And as always, I will hopefully see you sooner rather than later. Okay, Fire Slayer Flesh. Once again, just going on this area that I have now made look like leather. Or now put the highlights on so I can make it look like leather, hopefully. It's going to take a couple of coats, and then after that I'll go back and do the lacing in a different color. We'll see where that goes. And while that dries, oh right, I do the now that I got some Titan buff out on my palette, I'm going to do the whatever those bead things are. Just gonna highlight the or not highlight, but give it a little base coat on the string. Okay. Oh, looks like they actually did model the little ribbon or hair tie thing that she used. So I'll have to think about how I want to do that. I could just do it in black, I suppose. While I still got some on my palette, I'm going to take that red, same red that I used for that highlighting on her dress, and I'm going to hit her fingernails with it and see how that looks once it dries. Oh, yeah. It's a very secretary nails. Ooh, those are punchy. I hope they stay punchy once they're dry. I mean, I can always just add a couple of layers, but those look... I like that they actually kind of catch the eye when you got it on a dark background. Those are good. I don't know if that'll show up for you with the exposure being as low as it is or not, but still, it's there for me, and that's what matters. Getting there. A little more Fire Slayer flesh on that center part. Try and make it look like something approaching leather. Yep, getting there. Just like the other one, slowly getting there. While that's going, let me get... That'll probably be a nice highlight color. Another War Colors paint that I got right here. Sorry if I'm hitting the... I think I'm hitting the mic and the camera at the same time. Good night, TK. You have a good rest of your evening. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you next time. Thanks for showing up, bud. That War Colors pink I keep specifically for fleshy purposes, such as this. Come on. Is that plugged? No, I don't think it's plugged. I think it's just... These bottles are so hard to squeeze. There we go. And the paint's so thick. Okay, let's see how this looks if I try to use this to highlight some of those individual guts. Might be a bit much. Let's see what it looks like once it dries, because all the War Colors paints tend to desaturate, but... Yeah, that looks like it'll work all right. Get a little bit more on there. Sharpen the brush a bit, and then just start at the bottom. Kind of getting just one little hit on each thing. Not getting the entire thing. Just doing like one edge of it, or one spot on it. There we go. There we go, there. Try to get this inner intestine. And I may need to glaze over this later on with more of the purple alchemy, but I just wanted to make sure that there was a little more definition than what was there, because it was pretty uniformly purple. Okay. Leave that be. Come back to it later on. And yeah, it might desaturate a bit, but I'll probably need to, I probably will need to glaze over it with some of that purple again, just to bring it down. So what am I missing? I need to do more detail work on her falling out eye. I need to hit the belt buckle thing that she's got. I need to hit those beads. I need to do the knife and then the thing in her hair. Oh, and then the I can do those right now, actually. Now that that is made to look a little bit like leather, hit all of these cross threads with some Titan buff. Just so they stick out. Again, sorry, I know this is out of frame, but okay. There you go. Now you can clearly see those in the middle of the leather. Well, frankly, I think that's about all I have energy for tonight, and about all I feel like actually focusing on with these. So I am going to give you one last actual good look at it. Again, don't really know how well this is popping up on your side, but focus is a little out. Let me click that up. But yeah, there you go. That's what I've accomplished since we started. It's been a very entertaining paint job so far. I have fun with this one. I have fun with all of these. These are really interesting miniatures. But anyways, thank you all for joining me. It was a pleasure having you, as always. I hope that you got some measure of enjoyment out of it, or if nothing else, you had a chance to kind of chill out and relax and wind down before you wind up going to bed. So I'm going to sign off. I'll hit the button in a little bit to give you a few minutes of jazz to fall asleep to, possibly. But in the meantime, you guys all have a good rest of your night, and I'll see you next time.